I started out dressed as a zombie, trick-or-treating in a quiet neighborhood in Ashland, Massachusetts. But when I noticed that the house at 847 Maple Drive had a pumpkin completely smashed on the porch, as if someone had stomped on it in anger, something in my stomach twisted in a way I couldn't explain. My name is Thessaly Voss, 19 years old, freshman at Boston University, and that Halloween night in 2023 should have been just plain fun. A group of friends and I had decided to revive the tradition of trick-or-treating, even though we were too old by conventional standards. We dressed up elaborately. I was a zombie with special effects makeup that had taken 2 hours to apply, with fake wounds on my neck and dried blood running down my chin. It was October 31st, 8:47 p.m. according to my phone. The air smelled of dry leaves and that sweet chemical scent of cheap candy that children had been collecting all afternoon. The streets of this suburb were decorated to excess, fake spider webs, hanging skeletons, orange lights flashing in every window. It was picturesque, sure, exactly the kind of neighborhood where nothing bad could happen. Or so I thought. I had lost my friends about 20 minutes ago. Evander, Quillen, and Saffron had decided to take a shortcut through the community park to get to the Halloween party at the Morrisons' house on the other side of the neighborhood. I had wanted to visit just one more house. Mrs. Crane on Oakwood always gave out full-size chocolates, and told them I would catch up with them. Now I was walking alone down Maple Drive, my candy bag half full, and the sound of my own footsteps on the crunchy leaves my only company. The streetlights cast long, strange shadows. In the distance, I could hear children laughing, Halloween-themed music, doors opening and closing. The house at 847 stood out in its darkness. While all the other residences glowed with decorations and welcoming lights, this house remained mostly dark. Only a lone lamp on the porch, flickering erratically as if it were about to burn out, provided any illumination. And there, directly beneath that flickering light, was the pumpkin, or what was left of it. This was not a pumpkin that had accidentally fallen over. It was not one that had rotted away over time. This one had been deliberately destroyed. The top was completely crushed, with seeds and pulp scattered within a 3-foot radius. There were footprints, large ones from boots apparently pressed into the orange pulp, and something else. Darker stains on the wooden porch, stains that could have been paint or themed decoration, but something in my gut told me they weren't. I stopped on the sidewalk, staring at the house. My heart was still beating normally. It was just curiosity. Morbid perhaps, but just curiosity. Who would destroy their own pumpkin like that? Teenage vandals? A freak accident? Then I heard it. A creak. Slow. Deliberate. From behind the front door. I froze. The sound was unmistakable. Someone moving inside. Heavy footsteps on old wood. Approaching the door. It's just someone going to open the door to give out candy, I told myself. Even though the house was dark. Even though there was no candy bowl in sight. Even though every instinct in my body was screaming, "Get away." But before I could move, I saw something that made my blood run cold. In the second-story window, a curtain moved, and behind it, barely visible in the darkness, a silhouette. Tall. Too tall, motionless, just watching me. I took a step back, then another. My bag of candy crinkled loudly in the silence of the night. The figure in the window didn't move. But somehow that was worse. That absolute stillness, that fixed attention. I turned and walked quickly down the sidewalk. Not running. I didn't want to appear scared, even though I was. Just walking with purpose, putting distance between myself and that disturbing house. 2 blocks later, my lungs finally relaxed. My heart was still racing, but I could reason with myself. It was just someone looking out their window. On Halloween, when groups of costumed strangers were walking down their street. It was completely normal to be vigilant. The Morrisons' party was in full swing when I arrived. The 2-story house was lit up like a Christmas tree, with music booming from inside and at least 50 people moving around in the living room, visible through the large windows. I recognized several BU students, some from the local high school, and many faces I didn't know. I walked in, immediately greeted by Evander, who offered me a bright red drink in a plastic cup. "Where were you? We thought you got lost." "I was just delayed," I lied, taking the cup. "What is this?" "Halloween punch. Don't ask what's in it. It tastes good, and that's enough." I drank. Sweet, with a burning aftertaste. It definitely had alcohol in it, though probably not enough to worry about. The party was exactly what I needed. Loud, bright, crowded. A perfect distraction from the lingering unease I'd felt since encountering that dark house. I mingled with the crowd, laughing with Saffron about our costumes, dancing awkwardly with Quillen, trying to relax. But then, around 10:15 p.m., I heard something that stopped me in my tracks. I was in the kitchen, refilling my glass, when two guys near me, both dressed as vampires, very unoriginal, were talking quietly. "I heard he got out 3 weeks ago," one said. My mom was furious. She said they should never have let him back in the neighborhood. 3 weeks? I thought he got 5 years. He behaved himself. Sentence reduction. But man, after what he did to Mr. Pemberton. "What did he do to him?" I interrupted, unable to contain myself. The two vampires turned to me. One, tall with acne visible, even under his pale makeup, looked at me with an uncomfortable expression. "Who are you?" "A friend of the Morrisons," I lied softly. "I just heard what you said. Who are you talking about?" The shorter one, wearing glasses, looked around as if checking that no one else was listening. "Caspian Merrick, from 847 Maple Drive." My stomach sank. Of course, the dark house, the destroyed pumpkin, the figure in the window. "What happened?" I pressed. "Last year on Halloween," Glasses continued, lowering his voice even further. "He attacked the neighbor, Mr. Pemberton from 851. Apparently there was a dispute over, I don't know, something stupid. Property lines or noise or something. But on Halloween night, Pemberton was handing out candy, and Merrick just exploded. He attacked him on his own porch with a blunt object. He fractured his skull." "Holy cow," I whispered. "Yeah. Pemberton survived, but he was left with permanent brain damage. He had to move into assisted living, and Merrick went straight to prison. But now he's back, and people are terrified." "Why did they let him come back home?" "It's his property. He posted bail. He's on probation. But legally, he can live there, even though no one wants him to." The tall vampire added, "My little sister was going trick-or-treating tonight. My parents specifically told her to avoid Maple Drive, not even to walk down that block." My mouth was dry. What is he like, physically I mean? "Big, really big, like 6 feet, heavy build." "My dad saw him a few days ago at the supermarket. He said he looked bad, like prison hadn't been good for him. He had this look in his eyes like he was constantly angry at the world." I needed air. I left the kitchen, pushing through bodies until I reached the backyard. The cold October air hit me, helping me breathe easier. I'd been standing in front of the house of a man who had almost killed someone, who had been violent enough to fracture a skull with an object. And he had seen me. He had watched me from his window. "Are you okay?" Saffron appeared beside me, holding her own glass. Her witch costume included a pointy hat that tilted comically to one side. "You look pale. Well, paler than your zombie makeup." "I'm fine. I just needed some air." "Too much punch." Something like that. I should have told her. About the house. About Caspian Merrick. About the figure watching me. But I didn't want to ruin her night. I didn't want to seem hysterical or paranoid. "Hey," Saffron said, "some of us are walking to the old cemetery in an hour. You know, the Halloween midnight tradition. Want to come?" "Maybe," I replied. "Let me think about it." But my mind was already elsewhere. A morbid, stupid part of me wanted to go back. I wanted to drive down Maple Drive again, see if the lights were on now, see if the figure was still in the window, confirm that it was all my overactive imagination. It was a terrible idea. I knew that even as I considered it. But there was something. That dark curiosity that makes people slow down to look at car accidents. That makes you watch horror movies, even though you know you'll have nightmares. At 11:30 p.m., I found myself walking toward Maple Drive. I had told Saffron I was going to the bathroom, Evander that I needed fresh air, Quillen that I was just going for a walk. Lies upon lies, because I couldn't explain why I needed to do this. Why my feet were betraying me, carrying me back to the exact place I should be avoiding. The streets were emptier now. The little kids had gone home. Only teenagers and young adults remained, moving in noisy groups between parties. I passed several groups, a superhero ensemble, 3 girls dressed as anime characters I didn't recognize, a couple dressed as ketchup and mustard. Maple Drive was eerily quiet in comparison, and there it was, 847, still dark except for that porch light that still flickered erratically. The smashed pumpkin was still there, now partially hidden by the shadows. But something was different. The front door was ajar, just a little, maybe 6 inches, enough to see absolute darkness inside, enough to imagine someone waiting just behind it. I stopped at a safe distance, across the street, behind a parked car that provided some cover, just watching. Minutes passed, nothing moved, no sound came from the house. The door remained in that unsettling position, neither closed nor open, like an ambiguous invitation. Then my phone vibrated. Message from Quillen. "Where are you? We're going to the cemetery in 10. I should have replied. I should have turned around and left, met up with my friends, continued with the night. Instead, I took a step toward the house. I don't know what possessed me, what stupid part of my brain thought this was a good idea. But there was something about that half-open door. Something that pulled at me with sickening curiosity. I crossed the street, slowly, each step deliberate, listening. My heart now pounding, adrenaline rushing through my veins. I reached the sidewalk in front of 847. From here, I could see the destroyed pumpkin better. The dark stains on the porch were definitely darker than paint, more viscous. And now that I was closer, I could smell something. Metallic. Organic. Familiar in some primitive way I didn't want to name. The door moved, just an inch, maybe less. But it definitely moved, as if someone had pushed it slightly from within. "Hello?" My voice came out as a strangled whisper. "Is anyone there?" Silence. Then, from the dark depths of the house, a sound. Breathing, heavy, laborious, as if someone had been running, or excited, or waiting. Every instinct screamed, "Run!" But my feet were nailed to the spot. Paralyzed by terror and disbelief, the door swung open, slammed open, with such force that it slammed against the inside wall. And there he was. Caspian Merrick was exactly as he had been described. Huge, easily 6 feet tall, with broad shoulders that filled the doorway. But what they hadn't mentioned was the mask. A clown mask, but broken. Cracked down the middle, with an irregular crack running from forehead to chin. The red makeup around the mouth was smeared and runny, as if he had been crying blood. And in his right hand, he held a kitchen knife. A large one. The blade reflected the flickering porch light. "For carving pumpkins," he said. His voice was deep, rough, like gravel being rubbed against metal. "That's what I tell people when they ask. It's for carving pumpkins." I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just stared, terrified, as he took a step forward, out of his house, toward the porch, toward me. "But you," he continued, tilting his head, "you're not asking, are you? You're just watching, like you watched before, from the sidewalk. I thought you were gone. I thought you'd learned. My voice cracked. I was just walking, passing by, being curious." She took another step. Now she was at the edge of the porch, right next to the destroyed pumpkin. "You know what happened to the last curious one, right? Mr. Pemberton. He had questions too. Questions about my property, about my boundaries, about my rights. My body finally responded. I moved backward, one step, then another. "You didn't believe me when I put the pumpkin here," she said, her voice taking on a dreamy, almost nostalgic quality. No one believed her. They all thought it was decoration, that the pulp was just pulp, that the stains were paint. But you looked long enough. You started to wonder. What did you do? The words came out before I could stop them. What I had to do. He lifted the knife, examining the blade. The trick-or-treaters came tonight. Little kids, screaming, demanding, banging on my door, as if I had an obligation to give them candy, to participate in their stupid tradition, after everything I went through, after they took a year of my life away for defending myself. My blood ran cold. The children. What did you do to the children? Nothing. She smiled beneath the mask. I could see her teeth through the crack. Yet, but the night is young, and now you're here, grown up, responsible. Not an innocent child, but someone who knew better. Someone who was warned, by instinct, by common sense, but came anyway. I ran. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just turned and ran as fast as my legs could carry me. Behind me, I heard his footsteps, heavy, thudding against the pavement, chasing me. "Run!" he shouted, and there was joy in his voice, genuine delight. "Run, little zombie. Let's see how fast you can go with all that fake blood slowing you down." My lungs burned. The costume was stupidly restrictive. Ripped jeans and a baggy t-shirt covered in blood that now stuck to my skin with panic sweat. The bag of candy still hung from my arm, slapping against my leg with every stride. Maple Drive stretched out in front of me. Too long, too straight, no places to hide. The houses on either side were dark now, families asleep or still at Halloween parties. No one to hear, no one to help. His footsteps were getting closer. I could hear him panting, not with exertion but with excitement. Hunter chasing prey. I veered sharply to the left, cutting across a yard, jumping over a low wooden fence, landing awkwardly but keeping my balance, across the backyard, dodging children's toys, swing set, slide, sandboxes. Behind me, I heard him knock over the swing set, metal screeching, chains clanking. "You can't hide. This is my neighborhood. I know it better than you do." I reached another fence, taller. I had to climb, fingers scraping against rough wood. Over, falling to the other side in a painful heap. I got up. I ran. Alley now, narrow, dark. Trash cans on both sides created an obstacle course. I jumped over trash bags, dodged rolling cans. Caspian's breathing was louder now, closer. I could smell something, sweat, metal, something sour and sickening. The alley opened onto another street. Oakwood Lane. I recognized this place, 2 blocks from Morrison's party. If I could just... Something grabbed me, a hand closing around my arm, pulling, hard. I fell backward, straight toward him, toward Caspian Merrick and his broken mask and his pumpkin carving knife. I screamed. I kicked. My foot connected with his knee. He growled, his grip loosening for just a second. Enough. I broke free. I ran. "Bitch," he yelled after me. "I'll teach you, like I taught Pemberton, like I taught everyone who disrespected me." Oakwood Lane was empty, completely empty. Where was everyone? Why was there no one? Light. Ahead. Flashing flashlights. A group. People. Help. "Help!" I screamed, my voice broken and desperate. "Please, someone!" The group turned around. 4 teenagers. With flashlights, looking at me in confusion. "What?" one began. "He's chasing me. He has a knife. Please, help me." They looked behind me, and their expressions changed, from confusion to horror. They scattered, all in different directions, screaming, leaving me alone. Cowards. Damn cowards. Hands grabbed me again, both shoulders, lifting me off the ground, turning me around. I was face to face with the broken clown mask, Caspian's eyes, wild, bloodshot, stared at me through the holes. "We're done running," he said. The knife rose, reflecting light from the street lamp, preparing to come down. I did the only thing I could. I spat, directly into the eye holes of the mask. He screamed, hands releasing me to wipe his face, stumbling backwards. I ran again, not looking back, not thinking, just moving my legs, one in front of the other. Ignoring the burning, the pain, the exhaustion Maple Drive. Somehow I had come full circle. I was back on Maple Drive, and there, oh God, there, was 847. Its doors still open, the smashed pumpkin still on the porch. And I understood. He had been guiding me, all this time, through alleys and backyards. He had been herding me back to his house, to his territory. Home sweet home, his voice behind me, closer than should be possible. Where it all began, where it all ends. My feet slipped. On something wet, slippery, I fell, right in front of his porch, hands outstretched to break my fall, landing on the pumpkin, or what was left of it, pulp and seeds squashed against my palms, and those dark stains, covering my hands now, sticky, still warm, but it wasn't paint. It had never been paint. It was blood, real blood, soaking into the wood of the porch, mixed with the pumpkin pulp, creating a grotesque mural of orange and dark red. And there was more, under the porch, visible now that I was at ground level. He dragged something under the porch, something the size of... "The children," I whispered, nausea rising. "The children who came tonight." "Just two," Caspian said, standing now at the edge of the porch, looking down at me. "Brother and sister, maybe 18 years old. They knocked so hard. They screamed so loud. Trick or treat, trick or treat. Like little monsters demanding tribute. Then I showed them. I showed them what happens when you mess with the wrong man." "You're crazy," I managed to say. "You're completely sane, perfectly sane. Sane enough to plan this, sane enough to know that no one would look until tomorrow. And by then, well, Halloween will be over, and everyone will assume the kids are lost, that they're at some party, that they'll come home eventually. They'll find them, they'll catch you. Maybe, probably, but it'll be worth it. Seeing the fear, the pain, the realization that no one is coming to help, that the world isn't a safe place, that monsters exist." He raised the knife. "One last time. And now you, witness, problem, final trophy for my Halloween night." The blade came down, and something happened beside me, a blur of movement, hitting Caspian in the side, tackling him away from me. Evander. It was Evander, with Quillen right behind him holding his phone, flashlight shining directly into Caspian's face. "The police are coming," Quillen shouted. "I called them. They're minutes away," Caspian roared, throwing Evander, getting up, but he hesitated. Looking between us, calculating sirens in the distance, getting closer fast. "Damn it," I hissed. Then he turned, ran, not toward his house but beyond it, into the darkness between houses, disappearing. Evander ran to me, helping me up. "Are you okay? Thessaly, look at me. Are you hurt?" The children. There are children under the porch." "I know. We saw them. We already called." "How did you find me?" "I tracked your phone. When you didn't come back, when you didn't answer messages, I knew something was wrong." The patrol cars arrived. 4 of them. Officers getting out. Red and blue lights illuminating the entire block. Neighbors emerging from houses, whispering, pointing. Paramedics check me over. Abrasions, bruises, shock, but physically intact. Lucky. Other officers went to the porch, under the porch, and they found 2 children, brother and sister, Dagny and Oberon Strand, 10 and 8 years old, reported missing by their frantic parents an hour ago. Dead, both of them, stabbed multiple times, hidden under the porch at 847 Maple Drive like trash. I spent the rest of the night giving a statement, describing Caspian, the chase, the threats, the knife, everything, They launched a massive search, roadblocks, helicopters, dogs, the whole protocol. They found Caspian 3 hours later, hidden in the woods behind the cemetery, still wearing the broken clown mask, still with the knife, covered in his victim's blood. They arrested him, second time in 2 years, this time without bail. No possible sentence reduction. 2 counts of premeditated murder, 1 count of attempted murder, multiple lesser charges. They told me I would never see him out of prison again, that he would die there. Small comfort to Dagny and Oberon's parents, small comfort to me, because I still see him, in every dark corner, in every shadow, the broken mask, the wild eyes, the knife reflecting light. I still hear his voice. Run, little zombie, let's see how fast you can go. I still feel the blood, sticky on my palms, mixed with pumpkin pulp, creating a nightmare I can't wash away no matter how hard I scrub. Halloween will never be innocent again. It will never be fun again, because now I know. Monsters are real. They don't wear fangs or claws. They wear broken clown masks. And they live in dark houses on suburban streets, waiting for someone stupid enough to look too long, to get too close, to step in the pool of blood in front of their porch, and realize too late that it's not decoration, it's a warning. I wore an antique gas mask to a post-war themed Halloween party, bought at a thrift store in the industrial district of Providence, Rhode Island. The store was called Forgotten Relics and smelled of mold, rust, and something else. Something I can only describe as secrets buried too long. My name is Neffel Strand, 24 years old, freelance graphic designer. And that night on October 28th, 2023, should have been just another pretentious Halloween party thrown by my friend Isolde at her downtown loft. Theme: Cold War nightmares. We were all supposed to dress as if we were survivors of some nuclear apocalypse that never happened. I found the store by accident. I had been searching Providence for hours. Costume shops, vintage stores, even Goodwill. But everything was too obvious, too worn, too common. I wanted something authentic. Something that would make people stop and say, "Where did you get that?" Forgotten Relics was tucked away in an alley between an abandoned textile factory and a warehouse converted into artist studios. There was no sign visible from the main street, just a small symbol painted on the metal door, a key crossed with a clock. I had to walk down the alley, dodging puddles of what I hoped was just rainwater, before I found the actual entrance. The door creaked when I pushed it open. A rusty bell tinkled faintly somewhere above. The interior was exactly what you'd expect, and worse. Every inch of space was filled with objects. Furniture stacked to the ceiling, boxes of vinyl records, old suitcases, clothes hanging on rusty hangers, rickety bookshelves with crumbling books, broken musical instruments, vintage photography equipment, and hundreds of unidentified objects covered in dust. And that smell, mold, definitely, but also rusted metal, old paper, rotting fabric, and something organic I didn't want to identify. "Hello?" I called out. Silence. Then from deep within the store, movement. A figure emerged from behind a tall bookshelf. An older man, perhaps in his 70s, with sparse white hair and thick glasses that magnified his eyes to an unsettling size. "Looking for something specific," he said. It wasn't a question. "Gas mask," I replied. "Authentic. For a Halloween costume." His lips curved into what might have been a smile. "I have several. Follow me." He led me deeper into the store, through narrow aisles, where I had to turn sideways to pass. The lights were dim, bare bulbs hanging from wires flickering occasionally. Shadows moved in my peripheral vision, but when I looked directly, there were only more stacked objects. "Here," he said, stopping in front of a locked glass display case. Inside were half a dozen gas masks, all from different eras and countries. "Which one catches your eye?" I examined them. Some were clearly replicas, or too new. Others were so deteriorated they barely held together. But one, One in the back corner mesmerized me. It was Soviet, or appeared to be. GP5 perhaps, though I wasn't sure. Opaque black, with the characteristic circular visor like a giant insect eye. The filter was still attached, cylindrical and heavy. The leather straps were cracked but intact, and there was something written on the side in faded white ink, numbers and letters I couldn't read. That one, I pointed. The man took a key from his pocket, opened the display case, and lifted it out carefully. Good choice. This one has history. What kind of history? Military, Cold War, brought back by an American veteran. From East Berlin, I understand. It was acquired under complicated circumstances. Complicated how? He shrugged. I don't ask questions. People bring me things. I sell them. That's all. He handed it to me. It was heavier than I expected. The rubber was thick, stiff with age but not brittle. When I held it close to my face, the smell hit me. Old rubber, something chemical, and underneath that, sweat. Human. As if someone had used it intensely. How much? $40. A steal for something authentic. Why so cheap? Because people don't buy these things often. They take up space, and... He hesitated. There's a reason the previous family wanted it out of their house. What reason? They didn't say. Just that they wanted to get rid of everything related to Grandpa. Everything. As quickly as possible. I should have asked more questions. I should have listened to the warning in his words. But I was only 24, and stupid, and thinking about how impressive it would look at the party. I'll take it. I paid cash. He wrapped it in old newspaper, dated 1987, I noticed, and put it in a plastic bag. Be careful with it, he said, as he handed it to me. Sometimes objects retain impressions from their previous owners, from what they witnessed. Are you trying to scare me? I'm trying to warn you. There's a difference. I left the store feeling uneasy but excited. Perfect for Halloween. A gas mask with a mysterious history. Isolde was going to love this. I got home, my one-bedroom apartment on the east side, and unfolded the mask on my kitchen table. Under the fluorescent light, I could see more details. The numbers on the side were definitely Cyrillic. The date stamped on the filter, 1974. And there was something else, engraved on the inside of the visor, barely visible. Initials. EM. I decided to try it on just to see how it felt, how I looked. I pulled it over my head. Immediately, the space felt small. Claustrophobic. The rubber pressed against my face, my forehead, my cheeks, my chin, sealing completely. The visor limited my vision to a narrow circle directly in front of me. And the breathing. God, the breathing. Every inhalation was work. The air had to pass through the old filter, creating resistance. A harsh hiss with every breath, and the exhalation. The valve made a squeaking sound like a muffled groan. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. The effect was disturbing, monstrous. I couldn't see my face at all, just this black, insect-like thing, expressionless, devoid of humanity. Only the reflective visor and the cylindrical filter hanging like an obscene proboscis. Perfect. I took it off after 2 minutes. My face was red where the rubber had pressed. Sweat covered my forehead. And I felt strange, vulnerable. As if by putting it on, I had exposed myself to something I didn't understand. But I put it away in my closet, hanging it on a hook with my denim jacket, ready for the party in 2 days. Isolde's party started at 9 p.m. on October 28th, the eve of Halloween, because she always had to be different. Her loft was in a converted industrial building, all exposed brick and high ceilings and huge windows overlooking the river. She had invited maybe 80 people, a mix of college friends, fellow artists, some acquaintances from the local music scene. I arrived at 9:30, deliberately late so the party would already be in full swing. I wanted to make an entrance, and I did. I was wearing the gas mask, of course, along with military surplus, a worn camouflage jacket, combat boots, ripped jeans, and I had torn and stained everything with fake blood and dirt for that post-apocalyptic survivor look. My hair, normally blonde and neat, was pulled back into a messy ponytail. No makeup was visible under the mask, which was the point. The music was thumping, something industrial and distorted, perfectly thematic. Strobe lights flashed, throwing everything into sequences of darkness and blinding light. The crowd was dense, bodies moving, drinking, shouting conversations over the noise. And the costumes. God, the costumes. Isolde had been clear on the subject, and everyone had complied. Scientists in white coats splattered with neon green radiation. Soldiers in genuine uniforms from various eras. Radiation victims with elaborate burn and injury makeup. Soviet propagandists. Cold War spies. Bunker refugees. The entire spectrum of nuclear paranoia made into costumes. But my gas mask stood out. I could feel the stares, people pointing, some people pulling out phones for photos. Nefel, Isolde appeared, dressed as a female Soviet officer complete with cap and fake medals. That mask is incredible. Where did you get it? Thrift store. Authentic. Can you drink with that on? Not really. I'll have to take it off. Well, first I need photos. This is art. I spent the next half hour being photographed. With Isolde. With other guests. Alone, posing dramatically against the industrial windows. The mask made it impossible to smile or make expressions, which somehow made the photos better. More unsettling, more authentic. But wearing it was exhausting. The thick plastic squeezed my face. Every breath was work. That constant muffled hiss that made me aware of every inhalation and exhalation. The visor fogged up slightly with my breath. And the smell, that smell of old rubber and chemicals and stale human sweat, filled my nose with every breath. I felt vulnerable in ways I couldn't explain, as if by covering my face, I'd strip myself of my ability to communicate. To connect, to be human. I was just this expressionless thing, this mask, this object. At 10:30, I needed a drink, and air. I went to the makeshift bar Isolde had set up, a folding table covered with plastic bottles and cups. Someone had made themed punch, bright red like irradiated blood. Perfect. I took off my mask. The cold air of the loft hit my face, instantly cooling my sweaty skin. I took a deep breath. Real air, unfiltered, unobstructed. I poured punch. I drank. The alcohol burned nicely, washing the rubbery taste from my mouth. That's an impressive mask. I turned around. A man was standing to my left, maybe 30 years old, tall, muscular beneath his soldier costume. Genuine U.S. Army uniform, modern, not vintage. Severe military cut, angular face with a strong jaw, eyes that were too intense even under the flashing strobe lights. "Thanks," I said, holding the mask to my chest. "Where'd you get it?" "Thrift store, in the industrial district." Something changed in his expression, just for a second, but definitely something. Recognition, maybe. Or something darker. "Which store?" Forgotten Relics. Why?" He didn't answer right away, just looked at me. His eyes moved from my face to the mask in my hands, then back to my face, as if he were calculating something. "Just curious," he finally said. "It's an interesting model. Soviet GP-5. Probably from the 70s. Are you military?" "Was. Marines. 3 tours in the Middle East. Now just civilian." But he didn't feel civilian. There was something about the way he stood, rigid, alert, ready, as if he were constantly scanning for threats. "I'm Caspian," he offered his hand. "Nefili." I shook it. His grip was firm. Too firm. Holding it a second longer than normal. "Friend of Isolde's." "College. You." "I work with her boyfriend. Construction, he invited me." Normal conversation, completely normal. So why did every instinct scream that something was wrong? "Well," I said, "it was nice to meet you. I need to get back." "That mask," he interrupted. "Did the man in the shop tell you anything about it? Where did it come from?" "Just that it had a history. Military. Cold War." "Why?" "Because," his voice got lower, harder, "I think I know exactly where it came from. And if I'm right, you shouldn't have it." The air between us changed. It got tense. Dangerous. "What do you mean?" "Turn the mask over. Left side. Do you see white numbers?" With trembling hands, I turned the mask over. There, in faded white ink, EM 1974 BRN. "Now look inside the visor." "Are there initials?" I looked. "EM. Evander Merrick," he said. "My grandfather." My stomach dropped. "What?" "That mask belonged to my grandfather, Cold War veteran. He was in Berlin, in the 70s and 80s. He brought that mask back as, I don't know, a trophy, a souvenir, something. He kept it in the basement with other military shit." "Okay, but—" "He killed himself," Caspian interrupted. His eyes were glassy, angry, hurt. "In 2019, in his garage, with car gas. And when he died, my aunt, his daughter, sold all his stuff, everything. She didn't want any of his stuff in her house, so she packed everything up and took it to thrift stores. Anyone would take it. I'm sorry for your loss, but that mask was with him, in the garage, when he died. The police found it on the floor next to his body, as if he had been holding it, or trying to put it on. I don't know, but it was there, during. The loft suddenly felt too hot, too loud. The music hammered in my skull. The strobe lights made everything flicker between existence and emptiness." "Are you saying this mask was present during a suicide?" "I'm saying that mask was the last thing my grandfather touched before he died. And it shouldn't be in the hands of strangers being used as a party prop." "I didn't know." "No, you didn't, because the store didn't tell you. And my aunt didn't bother to check where things were going. She just wanted everything gone, erased, as if she could erase what he did to the family." There was anger in her voice now, real, dangerous. "Look," I said, backing away slightly. "I understand this is upsetting, but I bought this mask legally. I didn't know its history, and technically your family sold it, so nothing." He moved closer, invading my space. "That mask is family property. It has sentimental value, and I want you to give it back to me." "Sentimental value? You just said your aunt wanted to get rid of—" "I don't care what she wanted. It's mine now. I want it, and you're going to give it to me." People were starting to stare at us. Conversations nearby stopping, heads turning. "I can't just give it to you," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I paid for it. And honestly, even if I hadn't, you selling everything and then demanding it back, that's not how it works. You know what?" Her voice dropped to a whisper, but somehow more threatening than if she had shouted. "I don't care how it works. That's my grandfather's mask. It was with him when he died. It probably has his DNA, his sweat, his last breath in the damn rubber. And I'm not going to let some hipster girl wear it as a fashion statement." "You're being unreasonable." "Unreasonable. Unreasonable." His voice rose now. People were definitely staring. "My grandfather killed himself. He sat in his car and breathed carbon monoxide until his brain shut down. And that mask was there, part of his death. And you're wearing it to look cool at a party." "You need to calm down," I said, my voice shaking. "You're giving it back." His hand reached out, grabbing the mask, pulling, "or I'll smash it into your face so hard your teeth will pierce the rubber." I pulled back. "Let go. Give it to me." We were in a full-on tug-of-war now, both of us grabbing the mask, pulling. The crowd had moved back, creating a circle around us. Some people were yelling for us to stop. Others just watched, phones raised, recording. Then I felt something sharp. The edge of the filter, where the metal connected to the rubber, had started to separate, and the exposed metal was like a razor. I pulled harder, so did he, and then the filter separated completely. I flew backward, still clutching the main body of the mask. Caspian held onto the filter, staggering forward, and the sharp edge of the metal where it had broken ripped my palm. Deep. Blood spurted immediately, hot and bright, staining the black mask. I screamed, in pain, in shock, in fear. Caspian looked at the filter in his hand, then at me, then at my bleeding hand. Something in his expression changed from anger to something worse. Something cold, calculating. "Look what you did," he said. "You damaged family property. Now, I don't just want it back, I want compensation." "You're crazy." I pressed my bleeding hand against my jacket. "You hurt me. I might need stitches. Then you should have given it to me when I asked you nicely." "Isolde!" I shouted above the crowd. "Isolde!" She pushed through the crowd, her boyfriend Quillen behind her. What the hell is going on? This guy is harassing me, demanding that I give him my mask. And he hurt me. Quillen, big, tattooed, intimidating when he wanted to be, stepped forward. "Caspian, man, you need to leave, now. Not until she gives me back what belongs to me. She bought it. Legally, you have no right." "I have every right," Caspian yelled. "It belonged to my family, my blood, and she has no idea what that mask means, what it has seen, what it has witnessed." "You're leaving," Quillen said firmly. He grabbed Caspian's arm. Caspian shook him violently. "Don't touch me." "Then leave yourself." For a moment, I thought Caspian was going to swing. His fists were clenched, jaw tense, eyes wild. Then, incredibly, he laughed. A cold, hollow laugh. "Fine, I'm leaving. But this isn't over." He pointed at me. "Do your research, Nafil. Search Evander Merrick Suicide Providence, 2019. Read about him. About what he did before he died. The places he went, the people he hurt. And then look at that mask in your hands and ask yourself, do I really want this?" He left, pushing through the crowd, the loft door slamming behind him. Silence fell. Everyone staring. The music was still playing, but no one was moving. "Someone get the first aid kit," Isolde said, taking my bleeding hand. "And yes, that's it for the night. Party's over. Everyone leave." I spent the next hour in Isolde's bathroom while she cleaned my cut. Deep, but not deep enough for stitches, we decided. Just thick bandages and paracetamol. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I don't know. That was intense." "Caspian has always been a little unstable," Quillen said from the doorway. "PTSD history from his tours, but this was too far. I'm sorry, Neff. I shouldn't have invited him." "Do you think what he said was true? About the mask?" "I don't know, but..." Quillen hesitated. "If it makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should just get rid of it. Give it back or something." I looked at the mask, now stained with my blood, the missing filter leaving an irregular hole, and suddenly it looked different. Not as a cool costume accessory, but as a relic. Something with weight, history, trauma. "I'm going to look into it," I said, "see if what he said is true." At home, at 1:30 a.m. with a fresh bandage on my hand, I opened my laptop. I searched. Evander Merrick Suicide Providence 2019. The results filled my screen. Providence Journal, March 15, 2019. Local veteran found dead in apparent suicide. Evander Merrick, 68. A Cold War veteran who served in Berlin during the 1970s and 1980s, was found dead in his garage on Thursday. Police ruled the case a suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. Merrick had been struggling with depression and PTSD, according to family members. But further down, there were more articles from the years before his death. Providence Journal, September 8, 2018. Local man arrested for harassing neighbors. Evander Merrick was arrested after a series of incidents of harassment against a neighboring family. The allegations include verbal threats, trespassing, and threatening behavior. Merrick, a veteran with a history of mental health issues, was released on bail, and more. Providence Journal, February 3, 2017. Veteran faces assault charges after altercation at local bar. Evander Merrick is facing assault charges after attacking another patron at tavern on Water Street. Witnesses say Merrick became violent without provocation, fracturing the victim's jaw before security guards intervened. The pattern was clear. In his later years, Evander Merrick had been violent, unstable, dangerous, and then he had killed himself, with that mask, my mask, nearby. Maybe holding it. Maybe trying to put it on. Maybe seeing it as a symbol of something, of the past, of his years in service, of better times before his mind began to break. I felt nauseous. I'd been wearing that thing, breathing through it, letting it press against my face just as it had pressed against his, just as it had probably pressed against his face as carbon monoxide filled his garage. My phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated. Then I answered. Hello? You read about him. It wasn't a question. Caspian's voice, clear even over the line. You read what kind of man he was. How did you get my number? It's not hard. Isolde has a Facebook page for her art business. Her friends list is public. I found you there. Your profile has your place of work. I called, pretended to be a customer. The receptionist was very helpful. A cold shiver ran down my spine. That's harassment. That's motivation. I want that mask back, Nefel, and I know you understand why now. It's not just sentiment. It's about respect, about letting the dead rest, about not turning someone's suicide into a fashion accessory. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Okay, I'll give it back. Just, how do you want to do this? Tomorrow, 2 p.m. North Burial Ground Cemetery, the section where my grandfather is buried. You bring the mask. I take it. We're done with this. Cemetery. Why not just... Because I want you to see his grave. I want you to understand this isn't a game, that you're holding something that was present at a man's death, that it has his energy, his pain, his last moment. I don't believe in... I don't care what you believe. Just know that you're coming. Alone. 2 p.m. Don't be late. She hung up. I sat on my couch shaking. This had escalated too quickly, too far. I should call the police, report the harassment, the threats. But what would I say? That I bought a gas mask that turned out to belong to his dead grandfather, and now he wants it back. It wasn't illegal to ask for family property back. And technically he had a point, moral if not legal. I looked at the mask, now resting on my coffee table, stained with my blood, missing its filter, deteriorated beyond use, and for the first time I really saw it, not as a costume accessory, but as an object with history, with trauma, with death literally attached to it. Someone had died holding this, breathing their last breaths near this, and that person had been violent, unstable, capable of harming others, and their grandson, Caspian, was showing those same tendencies. That same violence, that same instability. What if it wasn't just about the mask? What if it was about something else, something darker, more dangerous? I didn't sleep that night. I just lay awake, listening to every sound in my building, every footstep in the hallway, every door closing, wondering if Caspian had found my address too, if he was outside, waiting, planning. At 1:15 p.m. the next day, I made my decision. I would go to the cemetery. I would return the mask. I would end this, but I wouldn't go alone. I called Quillen. I explained. He agreed to come, to stay at a distance, but visible, just in case. North Burial Ground was one of the oldest cemeteries in Providence, stretching across acres of rolling terrain, with headstones dating back to the 1700s. At 2 p.m. on a cloudy October day, it was nearly empty, just a few scattered visitors and maintenance staff. I found the section Caspian had specified, newer than the historic areas, polished granite headstones from the last 50 years. And there, under an oak tree shedding red and gold leaves, was the grave of Evander Merrick. The headstone was simple. Evander, Joseph Merrick, 1951, 2019. Veteran father, grandfather, finally at peace. It didn't mention how he had died. It didn't mention the violence, the pain, the darkness of his final years. Only, at peace at last. You made it. I turned around. Caspian was standing 10 meters away, hands in the pockets of his military jacket. He looked different in the daylight, calmer, more controlled, but somehow no less threatening. I brought the mask, I said, taking it out of my backpack, like I promised. He walked forward slowly, eyes fixed on it. It's damaged. You damaged it. When you ripped out the filter. He reached out, taking it from my hands. He examined it, his fingers tracing the numbers on the side, the initials inside the visor. This mask went to Berlin. When the city was divided, when the world was on the brink of nuclear war, my grandfather used it in exercises, training, drills where they practiced surviving gas attacks. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand. This mask represents something. To him, to me. It's not just an object. It's a connection to a time when my grandfather was strong, capable, before his mind started to break. Caspian, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for what happened to your family. But giving you back the mask isn't going to bring him back. No, nothing will bring him back. But having it, having this piece of him, helps. Do you know what it feels like to watch someone deteriorate? To watch the strong man you admired become a shadow, a threat, a danger? No, I do. I lived through it. For years, I watched as he got worse, more angry, more paranoid, more violent, and no one could stop him because he was an adult, because he had rights, because the system is designed to protect individuals even when they are destroying themselves and everyone around them. His voice was breaking. Tears filled her eyes. And then one day, he went to his garage. He started his car, and he just left. He left a note that said, "I can't take the noise anymore." The noise. What noise? In his head, the world. We'll never know. Caspian. My aunt sold everything so quickly, as if we could just erase that he ever existed. As if we could pretend that his pain didn't matter. But it matters. He mattered. And this mask, she lifted it up, is all that's left of him before everything went wrong. I understood then. This wasn't about the mask, not really. It was about grief, about guilt, about desperately needing to hold on to something, anything of the person someone once was. You can keep it, I said softly. I don't want it, not after knowing. Thank you. Tears were falling now. Thank you. He turned, starting to walk away, and I felt relief. Finally, this was ending. I could leave, move on, forget this nightmare. Then he stopped. He turned back. There's one more thing, he said. His voice had changed, colder, harder. Something I didn't tell you about my grandfather. What? The gas didn't kill him instantly. It took hours. He sat in that car, breathing carbon monoxide for hours. And at some point during those hours, he tried to put on this mask, thinking maybe it would save him, that it would filter out the poison. But he couldn't. No, because gas masks don't filter carbon monoxide, only particles, specific toxic gases, not CO. So he just sat there, mask pressed against his face, still breathing poison. And he died with it beside him, his last stupid, useless act. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that the last person who wore this mask wore it while dying, wore it while his brain shut down from lack of oxygen, his cells dying, his memories fading, and all that death, all that terror. It soaked into the rubber. His smile was cold, cruel. Then thank you for wearing it at that party. Thanks for pressing your face where his was. Thanks for breathing where he breathed, because now, somehow, you're connected, part of the story, part of his death. Icy terror ran through my veins. You're crazy. Maybe. Or maybe I just understand things you don't. That objects retain. That death leaves a mark. That some things shouldn't be touched. I began to back away, searching for Quillen with my eyes, where he was. "Looking for your friend?" Caspian pointed. I spoke to him, in the parking lot. I told him you changed your mind, that you wanted to do this alone, that he should leave. He wouldn't have. No? Are you sure? Because I don't see him around here. I looked around. The cemetery was empty. No sign of Quillen. No other visitors. Just me and Caspian among the graves. "What do you want?" My voice was shaking. "To close it, really. Not just return the mask, but understand that this doesn't end just because you returned it. That you're now part of the story. That you'll always wonder, what if he's right? What if objects hold death? What if pressing my face against that mask connected me to something dark? You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to teach you that there are things in this world, objects, places, people, that carry darkness. And once you touch that darkness, it touches you back, and it never lets you go completely." He took a step forward. I took one back. "Don't follow me," I warned. "Or what? Will you scream? In an empty cemetery, who will come?" Another step. He followed me, like a predator tracking its prey. "Caspian, please. Do you know what they found in the car with him? Besides the mask, they found photos of every person he ever hurt. Everyone he ever threatened. He had been collecting them, saving them, obsessing over them, planning. Planning what? I don't know. He never got a chance to act. But the detective told me. He told me it looked like a list. A list of targets. A list of people who, in his twisted mind, deserved to pay for everything that was wrong in his life. Why are you telling me this? Because I found something else. Among his things. After the funeral. A notebook. With my name on it. Pages about me. About how I disappointed him. How I didn't visit him enough. How he deserved to be punished for my neglect. His voice broke again. My own grandfather. He was planning to hurt me, and I never got the chance to confront him, to ask why, to understand, because he killed himself before I could. Tears were streaming down his face now. So, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe all of this, chasing you, threatening you, scaring you, is just because I need someone to understand, for someone to feel what it feels like to be connected to something dark, something violent, something you can't escape no matter how hard you try. Caspian, I said, my voice soft now. You need help, real help, therapy, medication, whatever. But this, scaring strangers, obsessing over objects, it's not going to heal your trauma. I know. He wiped his eyes. I know, but it's all I have. This rage, this pain, this need to make someone else feel even a fraction of what I feel. He turned. He started walking toward his grandfather's grave. He placed the mask on the ground next to the headstone. "Goodbye, Grandpa," he whispered. "And I'm sorry for everything, for not visiting you more, for not understanding, for being afraid of you, for feeling relieved when you died." He stood there for a long moment, head bowed, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. And I knew this was my chance to leave, to run, to put distance between us. I turned. I started walking, fast, toward the parking lot. Behind me, his voice. "Nafeel." I didn't stop. I walked faster. Just one more thing. I reached the parking lot. My car was there. Quillen was leaning against it, waiting. "There you are," he said. "Where the hell?" "Drive," I gasped, opening the passenger door. "Now, please." He didn't question. He got in. He started the car. He sped out of the parking lot. I looked back. Caspian was standing at the edge of the cemetery, just watching, not chasing, not yelling, just watching, with the mask in his hands, holding it against his chest. As if it were a small child, fragile, broken. "What happened?" Quillen asked. "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." I was shaking uncontrollably. Just take me home." And he did. But even now, 3 weeks later, I can't shake the feeling that this isn't over. That somehow Caspian was right. That touching that object, wearing that mask, connected me to something. To his story. To his darkness. I changed my number. I made my social media private. I asked my employer not to give out my information. I took every precaution. But I still see the mask in my nightmares. I still feel the rubber pressing against my face. I still hear that hiss with every breath. And sometimes when I walk home late at night, I feel eyes on me, watching, following, waiting. Because Caspian knew my name, my face, where I worked, where my friends lived. And if he wanted to find me again, he could. And maybe, just maybe, he still does. At 28, I decided to relive Halloween by stealing a bag of candy from a supposedly abandoned house at the end of Cressida Lane in Detroit's run-down North End neighborhood. It was the stupidest decision of my life, and almost my last. My name is Quillen Voss, 28 years old, bartender at a downtown dive bar, single, living alone in a crappy apartment with walls so thin I could hear my neighbors breathe. And on that Halloween night in 2023, after 6 beers and half a joint shared with my coworker Evander, I decided I needed something. Something that would make me feel alive. Something that would break the monotony of my miserable existence. "Let's go steal something," I said, half jokingly. "What?" Evander looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "It's Halloween. We used to steal candy when we were kids, remember? Taking the whole bowl when no one was looking, the excitement, the adrenaline. We were 10 years old. Exactly. We need to get that feeling back. That innocence. That freedom." Evander laughed. "You're drunk." "I'm bored. There's a difference." But he wasn't coming. He had a girlfriend, responsibilities, a real life, so I went alone. Walking through the streets of the North End at 11:47 p.m. with my flashlight in my pocket and an empty backpack on my back, as if I were going to rob a bank instead of Halloween candy. The neighborhood was a war zone. It always had been. Vacant houses with boarded-up windows. Vacant lots littered with trash. Graffiti on every surface. The kind of place the police only came to if someone fired a gun, and sometimes not even then. But it had been my neighborhood, where I grew up. Before Mom died and we moved away, before everything went to hell, and the house at the end of Cressida Lane, number 1847, had been abandoned for as long as I could remember. Huge, Victorian, 3 stories with a turret. Probably beautiful at some point in the 1890s. Now it was just a shell. Peeling paint, rotten porch steps, a yard overgrown with weeds that reached my chest. But every Halloween, someone, some neighborhood joker, would put a bowl of candy on the porch. As a joke, as a tradition. The ghost house gives out candy even though no one lives there. Except this time, when I got to the end of Cressida Lane, there was no bowl on the porch. There was light, just a flicker, seen through a 2nd-floor window. It lasted a second, maybe less. Then darkness again. I stopped on the sidewalk, my heart beating faster. The adrenaline from the alcohol and marijuana being replaced by something colder, more sober. "Someone's in there," I whispered to no one. I should have left. I should have turned around and gone back to my apartment. But the stupid part of me, the bored, broken part that needed to feel something, said, maybe it's just a squirrel, or shadows from the trees. Lies I told myself to justify what I had already decided to do. I crossed the wild garden. The dead grass crunched under my boots. The wind howled through the bare branches of the trees, a sound that had always reminded me of wolves, even though I knew it was stupid. There were no wolves in Detroit, just wild dogs, rats, and desperate people. The fence around the property was wrought iron, rusty, with spikes on top that were once decorative but now looked threatening. I found a section where the bars were bent, wide enough to slip through. The metal scraped my jacket, my jeans, leaving streaks of rust red like dried blood. I reached the porch. The steps creaked under my weight, rotten wood that gave slightly, testing me, wondering if it would swallow me whole. The front door was ajar, just a few inches, but enough to see absolute darkness inside and smell. God. That smell. Stale smoke. Not from fresh cigarettes, but from old smoke soaked into the walls, into the carpets, into everything, mixed with something else, trash, mold, urine, feces. The smell of a place where people lived without running water, without electricity, without hope. Squatters, I thought. Homeless people who had taken over the abandoned house as a shelter, common in this neighborhood. The city didn't have the resources to evict them. The owners had abandoned it decades ago, so people just moved in, lived in the ruins. I should have left then, definitely then. But I pushed the door, slowly. The hinge creaked, a sound that in horror movies always heralds danger. The foyer was huge, high ceilings, a curved staircase leading up into darkness. To my left, a living room. To my right, what had probably been a dining room. Everything covered in shadows. My flashlight was small, cheap, bought at a dollar store, but it provided enough light. Cobwebs, everywhere, thick as cotton, hanging from chandeliers, crossing door frames, with small bodies of dead insects trapped in them, trash on the floor, fast food bags, empty bottles, syringes, shit syringes, drugs. Of course, drugs. What did I expect? I should have left. But I saw something in the living room, a pile of something, wrapped in plastic bags, and my stupid, drugged brain thought, candy? Someone storing candy there? I walked toward the living room, every step on creaky wood, my breathing too loud in the silence. I reached the pile, shone the flashlight. It wasn't candy. They were belongings, clothes, blankets, cans of food, bottles of water, all organized, stored, as if someone lived here. And then I heard the click, unmistakable, metallic, final, the sound of a gun being loaded. Don't move, asshole. I froze, every muscle tense, my heart exploding in my chest like a grenade. Dropped the flashlight, slowly. I did as he said. The flashlight fell to the floor, rolling, the light spinning wildly before coming to rest, pointing toward the stairs. Turn around, hands up, where I can see them. I turned around, hands shaking above my head, and there they were, 3 figures emerging from the shadows, like ghosts materializing. But they weren't ghosts, they were human. Barely. The one who spoke, the leader, apparently, was tall, thin to the point of being skeletal, his face marked by fresh scars, one crossed from his forehead to his cheek, another on his neck, bright red, recent, maybe days old. And his eyes. God. His eyes were wild, desperate, with that gleam I recognized from working in a bar, the gleam of addiction, of need, of barely contained violence. He was holding something. In the darkness, I thought it was a gun, a revolver. But when the flashlight flickered over him, I saw what it was. A pipe, a metal pipe, with a broken end, sharp, improvised but lethal. To his left, a woman, in her 20s, maybe, impossible to tell, with tangled hair, oversized clothes, a gaunt face, holding a stick, wood from a fence or something, with nails sticking out of one end. To his right, a younger man, possibly a teenager, with a broken bottle, green, a beer bottle. The glass reflected the light like teeth. "This is our territory," growled the leader. His voice was rough, as if he had been shouting, or smoking, or both. "Our home. Who the hell are you?" Nobody," I managed to say, alone, walking, saw the door open, curiosity. "Liar," he spat, literally. Saliva hitting the floor near my foot. You've got a backpack, a flashlight. You came to steal, to take our things." "No, Shut up." He approached me, the pipe raised. "Do you know how many assholes like you come here, thinking this house is empty, that they can take whatever they want? Rape us, kill us, leave us with nothing." I wasn't going to. We said shut up. The woman this time, her voice louder, hysterical. "We hear that all the time. I wasn't going to hurt anyone." They all say that. And then they wake us up in the middle of the night. They beat us. They rob us. "Please," I begged. "I'll just leave. I won't say anything. I didn't see anything." Too late. The leader was a meter away now, so close I could smell his breath, acidic, rotten like something dying. "You've seen too much. You know where we live. And if we let you go, what then? Call the police? Have us evicted? Leave us on the fucking street again?" "I won't call anyone, I swear." "Your oath means shit." He raised the pipe, getting ready to swing. I did the only thing I could. I lunged, not at him but to the side, toward the hallway. Toward anywhere but here. "Get him!" he yelled. I ran, down the hallway, my boots pounding on wood, sound echoing through the empty house, behind me. Footsteps, lots of footsteps, all three of them chasing me. "You're not getting out of here," the woman, screaming. "This is our house, ours." I reached the kitchen, thinking maybe back door, window, exit. But the kitchen was a trap. No back door, only boarded up windows, and stairs, down, to the basement. There was no choice. I went down. The stairs were steep, no railing, just worn wood that threatened to break with every step. My flashlight was still upstairs. I only had the light from my phone. I took it out. The screen glowed, barely enough to see. The basement was a nightmare. Low ceiling, cracked concrete floors, support columns that created a maze of shadows, and trash. So much trash. Empty cans, dirty rags, rotten mattresses, more syringes, bottles, broken boxes, everything covered in a layer of dust and mold, and the smell, worse here, much worse, as if something had died. Maybe something had died. I stumbled, my foot hitting a can, the sound of metal echoing loud in the enclosed space. "There," a voice from above. "In the basement." Footsteps thundered, down the stairs, fast, too fast. I ran deeper into the basement, ducking under pipes, dodging columns, searching, praying for another exit, another staircase, window, anything. My phone died. Black screen, no warning, no battery, total darkness. I couldn't see anything, nothing. I could only hear my breathing, my heart, and them. "Where are you, asshole?" The leader, closer. "We can hear your breathing. We can smell your fear. It smells like meat." I moved by touch, hands outstretched, touching damp walls, cold columns, trying to get my bearings, to find my way. Then, light. Their light. Flashlight, brighter than mine had been, sweeping the basement, looking for me. I crouched behind a column, making myself small, holding my breath. "Come out," the woman's voice, singing, like a mother calling her child to dinner. "Come out, come out, come out. We won't hurt you much, just enough to teach you, so you'll remember, so you'll never come back." The light passed close by, so close that I could see its shadow on the wall, elongated, distorted. I moved, as quietly as I could, toward where I thought the stairs were. Maybe if I could climb up, get to the front door, run. But then my foot hit something, a bottle, rolling, clinking against concrete. There, the light turned, directly toward me, blinding me, and they ran, all three of them, running straight toward me. I got up. I ran, blinded by the light, bumping into boxes, into trash, into something that crunched under my foot, wood or bone. I didn't know. Hands grabbed me. The woman, her fingers like claws digging into my jacket, pulling. I turned. I swung my arm. It connected with something, her face possibly. She screamed. She let go. I kept running. I reached a wall. I followed it, my fingers on rough concrete, searching, and then I felt it. Cold air. A draft coming from above. Window, small, at ground level, outside, but broken, or ajar, enough for escape. I jumped, grabbing the frame, pulling. Broken glass cut my palms, sharp pain, hot, but I didn't stop. I pushed myself up, through the opening, too small. My chest got stuck, I couldn't fit. Hands grabbed my ankle, the teenager, or the leader. I didn't know. I just knew they were pulling, hard, pulling me down. "I've got it," someone shouted. I kicked, wildly. My free boot connecting with something soft, face possibly. Another shout. The grip loosened. I twisted, desperately. Skin scraping against broken glass, against rusted metal frame. Something warm ran down my side. Blood, probably. And then, I was outside, falling onto the grass, into the cold Halloween night. I got up, staggering. I ran, not looking back, not checking if they were following me, just running, across the garden, over the fence, climbing this time. I didn't care about the spikes. One ripped my jeans, my thigh, more blood. I reached the street. I ran, my lungs burning, my legs shaking, but I didn't stop. 2 blocks, 3, 4, until I reached a more lit-up area, with houses that looked occupied, with cars on the streets, with some semblance of civilization. Only then did I stop, doubling over, breathing, each inhalation like knives in my chest. I looked at my hand, cut deeply, bleeding. My ankle, I could feel the pain now, sharp, as if something had penetrated. I looked. Through the hole in my jeans I could see marks, red, deep, finger shapes, and in one, blood, where a fingernail had dug into my flesh, my side too, soaked. I lifted my shirt, long cut, from the window, not deep but bleeding well. "Shit," I whispered. Shit. I took out my phone. Dead. Of course. I needed to get home, clean up, think. I walked, limping now, my ankle protesting with every step. The streets were mostly empty, the last Halloween revelers returning home. No one paid any attention to me, just another drunk injured after a wild night. I got to my apartment at 1:23 a.m. I climbed the stairs, every step agony. I locked the door behind me, all the locks, the chain, the deadbolt. I went to the bathroom, turned on the light, and really saw myself. Blood everywhere, my hands, my side, my leg, my face. I had a cut on my cheek I hadn't noticed, probably from a branch in the garden. I cleaned myself up, soap and water, burning, screaming, but necessary. I bandaged the wounds, as best I could. Not bad enough for the ER. At least I didn't think so. But painful. Very painful. And then, I sat down, on my couch, in the dark, listening. Every sound in the building was amplified. Footsteps in the hallway. Was it them? Had they followed me? A car in the street, stopping in front of my building. I looked out the window, the curtains barely parted. Searching, figures in the shadows, waiting. I didn't see anything, but that didn't mean they weren't there, because now they knew what I looked like. My face, my clothes. And this neighborhood was small, connected. If they asked, if they showed my description, someone might tell them. "Oh yeah, that's Quillen. He works at Murphy's Bar. He lives in the Riverside Apartments." And then they would come. Maybe not tonight, but eventually. To finish what they started. To make sure I didn't talk, didn't report it, didn't betray them. My phone charged enough to turn on. 5 missed calls from Evander, 3 messages. "Where are you? Are you okay? Call me." I didn't call. What would I say? "Hi, I trespassed on private property occupied by desperate squatters, and they almost killed me. Oh, and now they probably know where I live." Instead, I searched. Cressida Lane, Detroit squatters. Results, news articles from the last 2 years. Detroit Free Press, August 15th, 2022. Armed squatters threaten demolition workers in North End. A demolition crew attempting to tear down abandoned structures on Cressida Lane was confronted by a group of armed squatters. Police were called, but by the time they arrived, the squatters had disappeared. Demolitions were postponed indefinitely. Detroit Free Press, December 3, 2022. Man found dead in abandoned North End home. The body of an unidentified man in his 40s was discovered in an abandoned residence on Cressida Lane. Police are investigating, but there are no suspects. It is believed that the deceased was homeless and that the death may be related to a turf war between squatters. Detroit Free Press, March 20th, 2023. Local resident assaulted after entering abandoned property. A North End resident was hospitalized after being attacked by a group of squatters in an abandoned house. The victim, who prefers to remain anonymous, says he was exploring the property when he was confronted by at least 3 individuals who severely beat him. Police are urging residents to avoid abandoned properties and report suspicious activity. I dropped the phone. It was them. It had to be. The house, Cressida Lane, the group of 3, and they had killed before. Or at least someone had died on their turf, which meant they had no problem with violence, with permanence, with doing whatever it took to protect what was theirs. I got up, checking the locks again, all secure, but I didn't feel safe, because they were out there, somewhere, in that house, or roaming the neighborhood, looking for me, planning, and me. I was here, hurt, scared, waiting. The next few days were torture. Every noise startled me. Every shadow was a threat. I couldn't sleep without the lights on. I couldn't go outside without checking the street first, constantly looking over my shoulder. Evander noticed. "What happened to you?" he asked at work. "You're acting paranoid." "Nothing, just stress." "What about the cuts, the bandages?" "I fell, drunk, on Halloween, stupid." He didn't believe me, but he didn't press the issue. A week after Halloween, I was closing the bar, 2:30 a.m. The street's empty, just me in the darkness. I locked up, turned to walk to my car, and I saw him, on the sidewalk across the street, standing under a broken streetlight, barely visible, tall, thin, with something in his hand, possibly a pipe, looking at me. Our eyes met, across the distance, across the darkness, and he smiled. Not kindly, not friendly, but recognition. "I see you. I know who you are, where you work, and I will remember." I ran to my car, shaky hands, keys falling, picking them up, opening, inside, lock, start. I looked toward the streetlight, empty. He was gone. Or was he never there? Was it my imagination, paranoia, guilt? It didn't matter, real or imagined. The fear was real. The terror was real. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that I had made a mistake I couldn't undo, that I had crossed a line, entered where I shouldn't have, and that the consequences would haunt me. Because in my stupidity, in my boredom, in my need to feel something, I had forgotten the fundamental rule of this world. Abandoned places are not always empty. Sometimes they are full of things worse than ghosts. They are full of desperate people, violent people, with nothing to lose. And once you see them, once you invade their space, they become your problem, your threat, your nightmare, forever. That night, and every night since then, I sleep with a knife under my pillow, with my phone charged next to me, with my ear tuned to the door, to the window, to any sound that indicates they came, that they found me, that they finished what they started. Because I know, somewhere in North End, in that house at the end of Cressida Lane, they wait, they remember, they plan, and someday, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow night, maybe in a month, they'll come for me, and there will be no escape. No broken window to climb through, no second chance, only darkness, pain, and the end I deserve for being so fucking stupid. I paid admission to a corn maze at a Halloween farm outside Cedar Rapids, Iowa, looking for a cheap thrill. But the wooden sign hanging at the entrance said something I should have taken more seriously. You don't come out the same way you went in. My name is Saffron Merrick, 26 years old, freelance photographer specializing in decadent Americana, abandoned farms, ghost towns, off-season carnivals, that kind of aesthetic. And on October 27, 2023, I was in the middle of a project on rural Halloween traditions when I found Thornfield Farms. The place looked perfect, 60 acres of cornfields, family farms since the 1890s, and every October, they transform their fields into a Halloween maze. Nothing commercial like the ones you see in the suburbs. This was authentic, rustic, with that touch of real danger that makes things interesting. I arrived around 7:45 p.m. The sun had just set, leaving a burnt orange sky over cornstalks stretching to the horizon. The parking lot was a dirt field with maybe 20 cars scattered about, mostly pickup trucks, some with rifles visible in the back windows. Local people, not tourists. The entrance booth was a converted barn, with cliché Halloween decorations, plastic pumpkins, fake spider webs, scarecrows with burlap sack heads. An old woman sat behind a folding table, taking money. $20, she said without looking at me when I approached, maybe 70 years old. Her gray hair was pulled back into a tight bun. She wore a farm dress that she had probably been wearing since the 1950s. I handed her a $20 bill. How long does it usually take? It depends. Some come out in 30 minutes, others... She left the sentence unfinished, stamping my hand with a stamp that said Thornfield. Are you here alone? Yes, just me. Name? Saffron. Something changed in her expression, just for a second. A flash of... what? Recognition, concern, but it disappeared so quickly that I thought I had imagined it. Saffron, she repeated, writing it down in her notebook. Pretty name. Uncommon. Thank you. The entrance is over there. He pointed to an arched wooden structure that said Thornfield Maze in crooked letters, and underneath, that sign, you don't come out the same way you went in. What does that mean? I asked, pointing at it. It means the maze changes you. It scares you enough to make you appreciate daylight. He smiled. No humor. Or so they say. Are there actors? People in costumes who jump out? Oh yes, we have our scares. Just remember, if you need to leave, follow the red flags. They'll lead you to the emergency exit. Got it. And Saffron, she called after me as I started to walk away. Stay on the path, don't stray. The corn is dense, you can easily get lost. I nodded. I grabbed my camera, and I walked toward the entrance. The archway was flanked by tiki torches casting dancing shadows. Beyond that, only darkness. The cornstalks rose nearly 10 feet high, creating walls that completely blocked the view of what lay ahead. I heard noise behind me, a group of teenagers arriving, laughing nervously. Perfect. I wouldn't be alone for long. I entered. Immediately, the world narrowed. The corn walls on either side absorbed sound. The dirt path was barely wide enough for 2 people. And the lighting, just occasional lanterns hanging from poles, created more shadows than illumination. I walked slowly, camera ready. This was exactly the kind of atmosphere I was looking for my project. Authentic, eerie without being overly produced. The corn walls creaked in the wind, a dry sound, like bones rubbing together. Dead leaves whispering secrets. I took photos. The path stretching into darkness, the twisted shadows, the texture of the stalks. Behind me, the teenagers entered. I could hear their voices, jokes, challenges, the universal sound of young people trying not to admit they're scared. Then the first scare. A figure emerged from the corn walls to my right, an actor wearing a scarecrow mask, dirty overalls, holding a plastic scythe. He swung toward me with a guttural growl. I backed away, my automatic reaction. Heart pounding, even knowing it was acting, instinct kicked in. The actor laughed, a deep rehearsed laugh, before retreating into the corn, disappearing among the stalks. Shit, I muttered, smiling despite the scare. Well done, I continued. The path split, left or right, no signs. I chose left. This stretch was darker. No flashlights, just moonlight filtered faintly through the stalks. The shadows were denser here, longer. And then I noticed. The sounds behind me, the teenagers, had ceased. I stopped, listening. Nothing, just the wind in the corn, that constant crackling of bones. "Hello?" I called. My voice sounded small, swallowed by the vegetation. Silence. It's okay. They probably took the right path. Or they were being quiet, trying to scare each other. I moved on, but something in my stomach was twisting. Instinct, that ancient alarm system that tells you when something isn't right. Another actor came out, this time from the front, pig mask, apron stained with fake blood, chainsaw, no chain, obviously, just sound. He roared at me. I backed away again, stumbling slightly. He laughed, turned off the chainsaw, and disappeared into the corn to my left. My laughter was nervous, forced, because something still felt wrong. Why did the scares feel so isolated? Why hadn't I heard the actors interacting with other visitors? I took out my phone. No signal. Of course, I was in the middle of a cornfield in rural Iowa. What did I expect? But the time, 8:17 p.m. I'd only been in the maze for 15 minutes, 30 more, and I'd be out. The path split again, this time 3 options, left, center, right. I chose center. This stretch was different, narrower. The cornstalks pressed closer, brushing against my jacket as I passed. And something else. The ground was softer, muddy, as if water had pooled here. Or something else. I shone my phone's flashlight. The ground was dark, stained, with something that wasn't just mud. Paint, part of the decor, but the smell. God, metallic, organic, familiar in a way that made my stomach churn. I walked faster, wanting to get out of this section, wanting to find another visitor, another actor, any proof that I wasn't completely alone. And then I heard it. Saffron. My name, whispered, from somewhere in the corn to my right. I froze, every muscle tense. "Who's there?" My voice trembled. "Saffron." Again. Closer. Definitely male. Deep. With a rural accent that dragged out the vowels. "That's not funny," I said, trying to sound firm. "I know you're actors. But using my name it's too much. We saw you. At the entrance, we heard your name." The voice now behind me. Or to my left. The corn distorted everything. It was impossible to locate. "Who is we?" I asked, turning around, trying to see, but there was only corn, endless walls of dry stalks and shadows. Laughter. Low. Not the rehearsed laughter of the scarecrow actor. This was real, genuine humor. As if something were very funny. "Let's play a game, Saffron. You run, we chase. If you make it to the exit, you win." What? Panic was rising now. Real. Not the manufactured scare of a haunted house, but genuine terror. "What are you talking about?" "Start running, sweetheart. Now." I didn't wait any longer. I ran, blindly, down the dirt road, my boots pounding the ground, my heart exploding. Cornstalks whipping my face as the road narrowed. Behind me, footsteps, multiple, heavy, boots on dirt, and voices, more than one now, men, laughing, shouting. "There she goes. Don't let her get to the crossroads. She's mine. I saw her first." God, oh God, oh God, this wasn't acting. These weren't actors with a script. This was it. Hunting. Real hunting. I reached the intersection. 4 roads. No idea which one led to the exit. I chose one at random, right, and ran. This path was darker. No flashlights at all. I relied only on moonlight and the dim glow of my phone screen. The cornstalks became whips, hitting my face, my arms, leaving red welts on my skin. I stumbled, my foot catching on a root or rock. I fell, hands hitting hard ground, phone flying from my grasp. Shit. I groped in the darkness, fingers brushing dirt. finding it, grabbing it, pulling myself up, the footsteps closer, much closer. I almost have her, a voice, panting, excited. I ran faster, lungs burning, legs screaming, but fear, absolute terror, pushed me beyond the pain. The path opened into a clearing, a circular space where the corn had been cut. In the center, a structure, a small cabin perhaps, or a shed, refuge, trap. I didn't have time to decide. The footsteps were meters behind me. I threw myself toward the structure, circling it, looking for a door, a window, anything, nothing, just solid wood, no entrance. But on the opposite side, shadow, a gap between the shed and the corn wall, narrow, barely enough for my body. I slipped inside, pressing my back against the wood, holding my breath, my heart pounding so hard I was sure it would give me away. Figures entered the clearing, 3 of them, dimly lit by flashlights they carried. They weren't actors. They were local men, 30 to 50 years old, wearing hunting clothes, baseball caps, one with a scruffy beard, another with a scar across his cheek. The third, the youngest, held a bottle of liquor. "Where did she go?" Beard, looking around. "Somewhere around here. I saw her enter the clearing." Scar, sweeping his flashlight. "Maybe she went back into the corn." Young, drinking from the bottle. "No, she's here. I can smell her." Beard laughed. "Fear, sweat, better than deer." "We can't take too long," Scar said. "The Thornfields only give us an hour before they send in real actors. An hour is enough. We just need to scare her good, maybe touch her a little, then we let her go." My blood ran cold. Touch her a little. I knew exactly what that meant. "What about the last one?" Young asked. "The one last month. You said we were just going to scare her. She fell. Accident. Not our fault she hit her head. But she's dead." "So what if she is?" "They'll never find her. 60 acres of corn. You bury something deep enough in the field, it's gone forever." Nausea rose in my throat. I wanted to vomit, to scream, but any sound would give me away. Scar's light swept close to my hiding place, so close I could see the dust floating in the beam. "Check behind the shed," Beard ordered. Footsteps, getting closer. I closed my eyes, as if that would make me invisible. As if the light fell directly on me, blinding me even through my closed eyelids. "Here!" Scar shouted. "I've got her." I opened my eyes. He was a meter away, reaching, his hand outstretched. I did the only thing I could. I kicked. As hard as I could, my boot connecting with his knee. He screamed, staggering backward. I came out of hiding, dodging him, running to the other side of the clearing, toward an opening in the corn that looked like a path. "Get her!" Hands grabbed me. Beard, his fingers closing around my jacket. Pulling. I spun, violently. The jacket ripped, slipping off my shoulders, leaving it in their hands as I ran free, toward the corn, toward the darkness, toward anywhere that was far away. But this was no path. It was just corn, no trail, no direction, just endless stalks. The stalks hit my face, my arms, scratching, cutting, blinding me. I pushed forward, not thinking, just moving. Because stopping meant being caught. And being caught meant I didn't want to think about what it meant. Behind me, the men shouting, cursing, breaking through the corn. "Spread out, surround her. She can't go far. When you find her, she'll wish she'd stayed put." The stalks were a maze. No pattern, no logic. Just green-brown chaos that looked identical in every direction. I stopped, trying to get my bearings, to listen. The shouting was coming from left, right, behind. The corn distorted everything. Then, new sound, different, familiar. Music, faint, distant but definitely music. The kind of cheerful music they would play at a carnival. The way out. It had to be the way out. I moved toward it, as quietly as possible, trying not to break any stalks, not to make any noise. The corn began to thin out. The stalks were more spaced out. And ahead, light, real, bright. I pushed toward it, emerging into another clearing. But this one had structures, small stations like you'd see in a haunted house. A wooden coffin, a gallows, a table with fake torture tools, decorations, props. Part of the legitimate maze, which meant I was close to the real path, to the designated route. I looked for signs, arrows, red flags, the ones the old woman mentioned as emergency exits. There, at the edge of the clearing, a red flag tied to a pole. I ran toward it, following it toward an opening in the corn that was clearly a maintained path, with compacted earth, with lanterns every 10 meters. This was the right path. It had to be. I ran, following the flashlights, ignoring the burning in my lungs, the pain in my legs. Behind me, more screams. Had the men found the path too? Were they following me? The path turned, then another turn, and ahead, real light. Not flashlights, but floodlights. Illuminating. Exit. I could see it. The arch, the barn. The parking lot beyond. 50 meters. 40. 30. Something grabbed me, my shirt pulling hard. I screamed, twisting, swinging my arm. It connected with his face. Young. The one with the bottle. He growled, but he didn't let go. "I've got you, bitch," he gasped. His breath smelled of alcohol and tobacco. "You thought you could..." I spat at him, right in his eyes. He cursed, hands going to his face, letting go of me. I ran. The last 20 meters, through the archway, out of the maze. The parking lot was there, my car, people, other visitors walking to their vehicles, laughing, talking about the scares, normality, safety, civilization. I turned around, looking back at the archway, expecting to see young man, or the others, chasing me. But the entrance was empty, only darkness, and the sign. "You don't leave the same way you came in. Are you all right, dear?" A voice. The old woman from the booth, walking toward me. "You look disheveled." There are men, in the maze, not actors, chasing me. They tried to... Men? Her expression didn't change. "Are you sure? Our actors are sometimes very convincing." "They weren't actors. They said my name. They talked about hunting, about a woman they killed last month." "Darling, the maze is designed to scare you, to make you feel in danger, but it's all acting. It's all safe." "I'm not making this up." My voice rose, hysterical. "We need to call the police." She sighed, like a patient mother with a dramatic child. "If you insist, but I promise you, when we check, we'll find that it was just our actors doing their job. Then check, now." She spoke into her radio. Minutes later. 2 men emerged from the maze, young, in their early 20s, wearing Thornfield staff t-shirts. "We checked the area you mentioned," one reported. "No one there, just Roger and David doing their regular scenes." "Roger and David," I asked. "What do they look like?" "Roger is the scarecrow. David is the one with the chainsaw. They're our main actors." "No, the men who chased me weren't them. They were older, wearing hunting clothes, 3 of them." The 2 men exchanged glances. "No one else should be in the maze, only staff." "Well, someone was there." The old woman put her hand on my shoulder. "Dear, I think you got scared. Scares are intense, especially in the dark. The mind plays tricks." "My mind didn't play tricks," I said, but my voice sounded less certain now, because they were acting like I was crazy. Like I had imagined everything. Had I? The fear, the darkness, the isolation. Had they turned it into something else in my head? No. No. The hands on my jacket had been real. The conversation about the dead woman had been real. Have you had incidents? Visitors going missing? Women not coming out? Of course not. This is a family attraction. It's been operating for 40 years without a single serious incident. But last month, nothing happened last month, or any month. Now, Do you want us to call someone? Family? A friend? No. I just want to leave. Of course. Drive carefully. I walked to my car. My hands were still shaking. I took out my keys. I dropped them. I picked them up. I finally managed to open the door. Inside, I locked the door. I started the engine and drove, fast, out of the dirt parking lot, onto the highway. Away from Thornfield Farms, but I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching me, of something unfinished. I stopped at the first gas station I found, 25 minutes down the highway, under fluorescent lights, surrounded by normal people doing normal things. I went to the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. My face was scratched, red scratches from the cornstalks, my shirt torn where Young had grabbed me, my hands cut, bleeding slightly, physical evidence, proof that something had happened. I washed my hands. The wounds stung under the cold water. I dried them with rough paper towels. Then I took out my phone. I searched. Thornfield Farms, Cedar Rapids, Iowa disappearances. Results. Not many, but some. Cedar Rapids Gazette, September 15th, 2023. Woman reported missing after visiting local Halloween attraction. Dagny Ashford, 29, was reported missing by friends after failing to return from a visit to the corn maze at Thornfield Farms. Her car was found in the parking lot. Investigation ongoing. Family urges anyone with information to contact authorities. Cedar Rapids Gazette, September 30th, 2023. Search for missing woman suspended, case remains open. After 2 weeks of intensive searching, authorities have suspended the active search for Dagny Ashford. Officials say they combed all 60 acres of Thornfield Farms without finding evidence of criminal activity. The family maintains that something happened to Dagny on the property last month, exactly what the men had said. I searched further. I found Dagny's Facebook profile, still active, with posts from friends. Please come home. We miss you. The police aren't doing enough. And photos. Dozens. Of a young woman with brown hair, big smile, living her life, until she visited Thornfield Farms and never left. Had I imagined it all? Or had I stumbled upon something real? Something the farm or the police were covering up? I had no answers, only fear and wounds, and the knowledge that I had been minutes, maybe seconds, away from becoming Dagny. Another statistic, another unsolved disappearance. I drove home, to my apartment in Cedar Rapids. I locked up all the locks. I pushed a chair against the door, and I sat, in the dark, processing. The next few days were a blur. I reported my experience to the police. They took my statement. They said they would investigate, but their tone, the barely concealed skepticism, told me they didn't believe me, that they thought I was a hysterical woman with an overactive imagination. Corn mazes are scary, the officer said, especially at night. It's easy to get scared, to think someone is chasing you when it's just other visitors or actors. But Dagny Ashford, that's a separate case. No evidence it's connected to your experience. No evidence she disappeared from that place. And we searched thoroughly. We found nothing. She probably left on her own. Maybe she wanted to disappear. It happens more often than you think. They weren't going to help. They weren't going to really investigate, because doing so would mean admitting that something was wrong at Thornfield Farms, and Thornfield was an established local business, with connections, with history, with local politicians who were probably friends with the owners. I investigated on my own, discreetly, online, on local forums, in Cedar Rapids Facebook groups. I found more. Not official disappearances, but stories, anecdotes, rumors. My friend went to the Thornfield maze 2 years ago. She came out terrified. She said men chased her. The police did nothing. I know someone who worked there. He quit after a week. He said weird things happened after closing time. Vehicles arriving, people who weren't staff. The Thornfields are old money, with a lot of local power. They're not questioned, ever. Pattern, clear, consistent. Something was going on at that farm, in that maze. Something involving manhunts, assault, possibly murder, and no one did anything because those responsible were protected by money, by connections, by a network of complicity that extended throughout the community. 2 weeks after my experience, I got a call, unknown number, local. I hesitated, then I answered. Hello? Saffron Merrick. Male voice, deep, with a rural accent, familiar. My blood ran cold. Who is this? Someone who met you, briefly, in the maze. We were playing, but we didn't finish the game. If you contact me again. What? You'll call the police? You already did. They didn't believe you. Nobody believes you, because this is Cedar Rapids, and we're from here. And you. You're an outsider, with a crazy history. What do you want? To remind you that Thornfield is open every October, that the maze is there, waiting, and if you ever decide to come back, or talk more, or cause trouble, well, 60 acres is a lot of space, and the corn grows thick and fast. You're a monster. I'm a local. I know how this town works, and how to keep secrets buried. He hung up. I sat there, shaking, knowing he was right, that I was trapped. Between knowing the truth and not being able to prove it, between having survived and not being able to stop it from happening again, because they would continue, every October, using the maze as their hunting ground, preying on vulnerable women, scaring them, hurting them, maybe killing them, and getting away with it, because they were protected by the farm, by the community, by a system designed to protect them rather than their victims. And me, I was just another woman with an impossible story, another ignored voice, another warning that went unheard. That Halloween season, Thornfield Farms operated as usual. Thousands of visitors, 0 reported incidents, or at least 0 incidents that anyone believed. And every night, I wonder, how many other women ran through that maze? How many were chased by those men? How many escaped like me? And how many didn't? How many are still there, buried in those 60 acres, under the corn that grows thick and tall every summer, their bodies fertilizing the soil, their screams absorbed by the stalks that creak like bones in the wind? I don't know. I'll never know, because no one is looking, no one is asking, no one wants to know. And the sign still hangs at the entrance. You don't leave the same way you came in. Because it's true, I left, but something was left behind. My innocence, my trust, my sense of security, and something came with me. Terror, paranoia, knowledge that monsters exist, and that sometimes the whole town conspires to protect them. I matched with a girl on Tinder who was dressed as a sexy nurse for Halloween, and we met at a psychiatric hospital-themed bar called The Asylum in downtown Portland, Oregon. It was the worst decision of my life, and almost my last. My name is Evander Crane, 31 years old, software developer, single for 3 years after breaking up with my ex Saffron, who left me for her yoga instructor. And on that night of October 28th, 2023, after 2 months of matches with no chemistry and conversations that died after 3 messages, I finally found someone who seemed different. Real. Interesting. Her profile said, Thessaly, 28, real nurse, but I promise not to diagnose you on the first date. Her photos showed an attractive woman with shoulder-length dark hair, a smile that seemed genuine. And those eyes, bright green that even through the screen had something. Magnetic. We matched on a Tuesday. By Thursday, we were exchanging messages constantly. Jokes, memes, stories about our jobs. She was funny, sarcastic, smart, not like the other matches who only responded with haha and emojis. And then on Friday, she wrote, I have a crazy idea. Halloween is in 3 days. Do you know the Asylum? It's a themed bar. They're only open in October. We could go in costume, make it a memorable date." "Sounds perfect," I replied. "What costume will you wear?" "Sexy nurse, obviously. It's cliché, but it's my profession, so I can get away with it." "You?" "Maybe an escape patient, straitjacket optional." "I like it. Saturday, 9 p.m. I'll be there." On Saturday, I spent the whole day nervous, good nervous. The kind of anticipation I hadn't felt since my 20s, probably. That excitement of meeting someone new, of possibility. I got dressed carefully. Dark jeans, white shirt, leather jacket, and for the disguise, bandages on my wrists and neck, as if I had just escaped from something. Pale makeup that made me look sick. Wildly tousled hair. It wasn't elaborate, but it was enough. Themed, without being ridiculous. I arrived at the asylum at 8:50 p.m. The bar was in a building that had actually been a mental hospital in the 1920s, before closing due to inhumane conditions. Now it was 3 floors of themed bars, each floor decorated as a different part of a mental institution, padded cells converted into booths, stretchers as tables, flashing lights, recorded screams playing under the music. It was a lot, but perfect for Halloween. I waited at the entrance to the second floor, the emergency room section, watching the door. My heart beat faster with every passing minute. What if she didn't look like her photos? What if there was no chemistry in person? What if... Then I saw her. Thessaly walked in at 9:05 p.m. and she was... God, exactly like her photos, but better. The nurse costume was what you'd expect. Tight white dress that ended mid-thigh with a red cross on the chest. White fishnet stockings. Heels that made her almost my height. And that little nurse's cap tilted playfully on her dark hair. But what stopped me was her smile when she saw me. Genuine. Lighting up her whole face. As if she were genuinely excited to see me. "Evander?" she asked, approaching me. "Thessaly. Wow, you look amazing." "You too. I love the traumatized patient look. Very authentic." She touched one of the bandages on my wrist. "What floor did you escape from?" "The 3rd, where they keep the really crazy ones." "Perfect. I work on the 1st, taking care of the moderately disturbed." We laughed, immediately comfortable. The conversation flowed as easily as it had over text. We found a table, a stretcher converted into a high stool by a window overlooking the street. The waiter arrived dressed as a 1950s doctor in a blood-stained gown. We ordered drinks. I had a whiskey sour. She had something called a lobotomy, which was vodka with cranberry juice and dry ice creating a smoke effect. "So," I said, taking a sip of my drink, "tell me, what made you become a nurse?" "Family. My mother was a nurse. Her mother before her. It's like a Strand tradition caring for the sick." She took a sip from her glass, leaving a red lipstick mark. "And you? Did you always want to program?" "Not really. I wanted to be a writer. But you know, you need real money. So I learned to program. And it turns out I'm decent at it." "Do you still write?" "Sometimes. When inspiration strikes. Mostly short stories, nothing published. I'd like to read something someday. Maybe, if this date goes well. If it's already going well. Look, we're talking, laughing, drinking ridiculously themed drinks. It's perfect." And it was. For an hour, it was perfect. We talked about everything. Our jobs, our families, our hobbies. She did yoga and rock climbing. I played video games and played mediocre guitar. She had traveled to Japan and Thailand. I had only left the country once, to Canada, which she joked barely counts. The bar filled up. The music got louder. The lights more strobe-like. People in elaborate costumes filled every space. Zombies, vampires, witches, more psychiatric patients, and medical staff. Around 10:30 p.m., she went to the bathroom. I ordered another round of drinks. I checked my phone. A message from my friend Quillen. "How's it going? Is it real or bot?" "Very real," I wrote back. "And it's going great." Thessaly returned, but something had changed. Her smile was a little more tense. Her eyes scanned the bar constantly, as if she were looking for something, or someone. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, it's crowded." She sat down. She drank her new drink quickly. Too quickly. "Tell me more about yourself. Where do you live?" "Pearl District. Small apartment, but it's close to work." His expression changed. Just for a second, but it definitely changed. The color drained slightly from his face. His fingers tightened around the glass. "Pearl District," he repeated. "What street?" "Northwest 13th. Why?" "I know someone from there. My ex, Caspian. He lived on Northwest 11th. The name resonated in my memory. Caspian. Where had I heard that name? Why did it sound uncomfortably familiar? "Your ex." I laughed nervously. "Well, Portland is a small town, really. We probably all know someone who knows someone." "Yeah, I guess." But she wasn't laughing. She was staring at her drink, fingers tracing the rim of the glass. "Do you read the local news about crimes?" "Sometimes. Why?" Caspian was. "There was an incident 2 years ago at a Halloween party. God, how do I explain this?" My stomach started to sink. What kind of incident? She took a deep breath. "We broke up in September of that year, 2021, because he was controlling, jealous. He checked my phone. He followed me after work. He yelled if I talked to other men. Stuff like that. And I knew I needed to get out before it got worse." "Shit, I'm sorry." "Thanks, but here's the fucked up part. We broke up. I blocked his number. I moved to a new apartment without telling him where. I thought it was over. But then, Halloween. I went to a party, at a club downtown, with friends, trying to have fun. Forget him." She paused, taking another sip of her drink, her hands trembling slightly. "And he showed up," I ventured. "Worse. My friend Nefeli. She met a guy at the party. They started dancing, flirting, and it turns out it was Caspian, in costume, wearing a mask. She didn't know who he was. I didn't know until he took off his mask. And when he saw me, his expression, God, it was pure rage. What happened? He yelled at Nefel, called her a whore, said she was trying to replace him. Then he tried to grab me. He pulled my arm so hard it almost dislocated. Security had to intervene. They took him out of the club, and we thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't. No, he waited outside, in the alley, and when Nefeli came out, alone, because she'd forgotten her phone in her coat, he attacked her. He stabbed her, 3 times, in the stomach, because he thought she'd stolen me from him, because in his twisted mind, it was her fault for rejecting him. The horror hit me like a punch. Now I remembered. The news. The article. Woman stabbed in entertainment district. Attacker arrested. Did Nefeli survive? I asked. Yes, barely. She was in the hospital for 2 months. Surgeries, physical therapy. And now she has scars that will never go away. Both physical and mental. And Caspian. Arrested. Charged with attempted murder. Assault. Harassment. Everything. His trial was last year. He was found guilty. Sentenced to 15 years. Something didn't add up. Wait. 15 years. So he's still in prison. His expression darkened. He should be. But his family is rich. Expensive lawyers. Appeals. And 3 months ago, he got out. Early release for good behavior. Or some bullshit. He only served 2 years of 15. Oh God. Yeah. And since he got out, he's been contacting me. Messages from blocked numbers. Letters sent to old addresses he somehow got. Showing up at places I go. Cafes, gym, outside my work. Did you report this? Of course. But he violated his parole only if he contacts me directly. And he's careful. He never talks to me. He's there. Watching. From a distance where he's not technically breaking any laws. The bar suddenly felt too hot. Too loud. I looked around. Hundreds of people in costumes. Masks. Makeup. Any one of them could be him. Anyone. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "I mean, first date and you're... Not that I blame you, but because you needed to know, just in case he's here, tonight. Because you mentioned the Pearl District, and that's where he lives. And if he saw me on Tinder, if he somehow knows I'm here with you, then..." "Wait, you think he's here? Right now?" "I don't know. But lately, the feeling of being watched has been worse. And Halloween is when he attacked Nephile. It's like meaningful to him. Like a twisted anniversary. Shit. Thessaly, we should go. Now, get out of here." "You're right, I'm sorry, this is a mess. You must think I'm crazy or paranoid or..." "I don't think that, but I need to go to the bathroom first. Then we'll go to my car. I'll take you home. Or wherever you feel safe." She nodded. "Okay, I'll wait here. Hurry." I got up. I navigated through the crowd toward the restrooms in the back. My mind was spinning, processing. Should I call the police? But say what? That my new friend's date has a violent ex who may or may not be somewhere in the bar. I reached the restrooms. The men's door was marked with a symbol of a patient strapped to a stretcher. I pushed to get in, and someone blocked me, hand on my chest, pushing me back. Evander Crane. I looked up. Tall man, 30s. Dressed as a mad doctor, blood-stained white coat, stethoscope, lab glasses, and in his hand, a syringe, large, with bright green liquid that glowed under the neon lights of the bar. "How do you know my name?" My voice came out higher than I wanted it to. "Because I looked it up. After I saw that Thessaly matched with you, on Tinder. Her account isn't private, neither is yours. Pretty stupid, actually. Posting your whole life online. Caspian. It had to be Caspian. I don't want any trouble," I said. "I'm just getting to know someone, that's all. Getting to know. My Thessaly." His voice grew harsher. "She's not yours to get to know. She's mine. She's always been mine. And guys like you, thinking you can just walk in, steal her. It doesn't work like that. She's not anyone's property. You two are done. We're done when I say we're done." He raised the syringe. The liquid inside swirled. Probably just water with dye. Costume prop. But the metal, the needle, was real. I could see the sharp point glinting. "Get away from me," I said, backing away. "Or what? Will you scream? In a bar full of loud music and drunk people, no one will hear you. And by the time anyone notices, I'll have you injected." He smiled. No humor, all threat. "It won't kill you. It'll just make you sick. It'll make you collapse. And while everyone thinks you drank too much, I'll take Thessaly, as it should be." "You're fucking crazy." "Maybe, but I'm crazy who will get what he wants." He lunged, the syringe aimed at my neck. I turned, dodging. The needle passed inches from my skin. I crashed into someone, a woman dressed as a witch. She screamed, her drink spilling. "Hey!" her boyfriend yelled. "Watch where you're going." "Sorry." I pushed past them, toward the exit, needing to catch up with Thessaly, warn her, get out. But the crowd was dense, bodies everywhere. Impossible to move fast. Behind me, Caspian's voice. "You can't escape. I know this bar. I know every exit." I reached our table. Thessaly was no longer there. The glasses empty. No sign of her. "Thessaly," I shouted over the music, turning, searching, there. On the other side of the bar, heading for the stairs leading down to the first floor. I pushed through the crowd. "Thessaly, wait." She turned. She saw me. Her eyes widening with relief, fear, I couldn't tell. Then something changed in her expression. Horror, looking past me. I turned. Caspian was 10 feet away, pushing people, the syringe still in his hand. "He's here," I yelled. The bar suddenly erupted into chaos, people screaming, not because of us, but because of something else, fighting. On the other side of the bar, 2 guys swinging punches, bottles breaking, security running toward them, the perfect distraction. Caspian used the chaos to get closer, reaching me, his free hand grabbing my shoulder. "She's mine," he muttered. "Remember that." I turned, my elbow hitting his side. He growled but didn't let go. "Caspian, stop!" Thessaly's voice, sharp, desperate. He let go of me, looking at her, and his expression. God. His expression was love, obsession, madness, all mixed into a look that was absolutely terrifying. "Thessaly, baby, we can fix this. Forget this idiot, come with me like it should be." "No, never. You have to stop. Do you understand? This is over." It's been over for years. It's not over until I say. Security finally noticed us. 2 big guards pushing through the crowd. "Hey, whatever is going on here, it ends now." Caspian looked between them, then at me, then at Thessaly, calculating. Then he turned and ran toward the back exit, the one leading to the alley. "Stop him," Thessaly shouted. "He's my ex. He has a restraining order." But the guards were busy with the fight, with evacuating the bar, because someone had set off the fire alarm, the entire bar being emptied. "Shit," I said. "We need to get out now." I grabbed Thessaly's hand, pulling toward the main exit, joining the flow of people evacuating. But outside, on the sidewalk, the confusion was worse. Hundreds of people spilling out, blocking the street, sirens in the distance, fire trucks arriving as a precaution. "My car is 2 blocks away," I shouted over the noise. "Over there." "We can't. He'll know. He'll follow us." "So what?" "Alley. There's a back way out. I can show you." We ran, through the crowd, toward the side of the building, where a narrow alleyway wound behind the shops. The alley was dark, lit only by occasional backlight. Trash cans on both sides, puddles of something, hoping it was just rainwater from previous days. Thessaly's heels echoed against the pavement, too loud, too obvious. "Take off your shoes," I whispered urgently. She did, kicking them off, running in socks now, quieter, but more vulnerable. We ran deeper into the alley, toward where it opened onto another street. Then, behind us, the sound of a door slamming open, footsteps running. "I see you," Caspian's voice, echoing off the brick walls. "Run," Thessaly gasped. We ran, my lungs burning, her breath in ragged gasps. The alley seemed endless. Why was it so long? How much further until... There, streetlight, exit, 10 meters, 5. Something grabbed me, hand closing around my jacket, pulling back. I fell, landing hard, pain exploding in my back. Caspian was on top of me, syringe raised, his eyes wild. "You should have stayed away," Thessaly screamed, throwing herself at him, kicking, her bare feet connecting with his ribs. He pushed her. Hard, she fell, landing in a puddle, her nurse costume now stained black. "Thessaly first," he roared. "Then you." He turned toward her, the syringe changing targets. I did the only thing I could. I kicked, my foot connecting with his knee, from behind from an angle he didn't expect. His leg buckled. He fell, the syringe flying from his hand. Rolling toward the gutter. I got up. I grabbed Thessaly. Now! We ran the last few meters, out of the alley and onto the street. Traffic, people, civilization. A taxi was stopped at a red light. I ran towards it, banging on the window. "Please, emergency, we need a ride." The driver, a middle-aged man wearing a cap, looked at me skeptically. "Are you drunk?" "No. Someone is chasing us, please." Thessaly appeared at my side, her costume torn, her face stained with tears and dirt. "Please help us." Something in her expression convinced him. "Get in, quick." We threw ourselves into the back seat, locking the doors. "Drive," I shouted. "Anywhere." He accelerated just as the light turned green. I looked out the back window, Caspian emerging from the alley, standing on the sidewalk, watching the taxi drive away, his expression. Even from a distance, it was promising. This wasn't over. "Where are you going?" the driver asked. "Police station," I said. "The nearest one." Thessaly nodded, shaking. She grabbed my hand. "I'm sorry, God, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. None of this is your fault. But I ruined it. The date, everything. We're alive. That's what matters." The taxi took us to Central Police Station. We went inside, still in our ridiculous disguises. Covered in dirt, she without shoes. The officer at the desk looked at us like we were crazy. But when Thessaly explained, when she gave Caspian's name, when she mentioned his history, the restraining order he violated, they got serious. They took statements. They sent units out to look for Caspian. They offered to escort us home. We spent 3 hours there, giving details, describing everything. What he said, what he did, the syringe, the chase. Eventually, they let us go, with a promise to contact us if they found anything. The officer walked me to my car, still parked near the bar. I offered to drive Thessaly home. She accepted. We drove in silence. The shock setting in, my mind replaying everything. The what-ifs, the almosts. How close we had been to something much worse. I dropped her off at her apartment, a new place that Caspian supposedly didn't know about, although after tonight, nothing seemed certain. "Thank you," she said, "for everything, for not thinking I'm crazy, for helping me escape, for... You don't need to thank me. Just take care of yourself, keep your phone close, and if you see him again, I'll call the police immediately, I promise." "Good." She hesitated, then she leaned in, kissed my cheek. In another universe, this would have been a great first date. Yeah, in another universe. I drove home, to my apartment on Northwest 13th, 2 blocks from where Caspian lived on Northwest 11th. Too close, much too close. I parked, went upstairs, locked up, all the locks. I pushed a chair against the door and sat, in the dark, processing. That was Halloween, the first date, the first encounter with Caspian's madness. I hoped it would be the last, but the next day, Sunday, October 29th, at 11:37 a.m., my phone vibrated. Message. From a blocked number. I opened it. It just said, "Next time, I'll be the one to inject you, and it won't be fake. And Thessaly will see. She'll see what happens to men who touch what's mine. Happy Halloween." See. Attached. Photo. Of me, leaving my building. That morning, an hour ago, he had been there, watching. Waiting, knowing exactly where I lived. I called the police. Again, I reported it. Again, they showed the message, the photo. They said they would send a patrol, that they would look for Caspian, that they would take the case seriously. But I knew, from the tone of their voices, from the way they exchanged glances, that without physical evidence, without an actual attack, with nothing more than a threatening message, they couldn't do much, and Caspian knew that. That's why he was so careful, so calculating, threatening but never crossing the legal line that would put him in prison. That night, I stayed awake, with every light on, kitchen knife on the table next to me, phone with 911 partially dialed, waiting, listening to every sound in the hallway, every footstep, every door closing, every creak of the old building settling, wondering. When would he come? Tonight, tomorrow, next week? Or would he wait? Until next Halloween, until the next anniversary of his first attack, to finish what he had started. I didn't know. I still don't know. Because Caspian is patient, and obsessed, and dangerous, and free, and me. I'm the guy who made the mistake of connecting with the wrong girl on Tinder, on the wrong night, in a city where a monster lived 2 blocks away. And now, like Thessaly, like Nephail before her, I live in constant fear that someday he will fulfill his promise, and that next time, there will be no taxi to save us, just a syringe, and silence, and an ending I should have seen coming the moment I read that sign in the bar. The asylum where madness finds you. And it found me, in the form of a violent ex with a mad doctor's smile and threats that never go away. Now I live with my windows closed, curtains always drawn, every sound making me jump, every stranger on the street a potential threat. Because in Portland, in a city of 1 million people, he's out there somewhere, watching, waiting, planning, and me. I can only hope that when he finally acts, when he can no longer contain himself, the police will arrive in time. But I know, with cold certainty, that they probably won't, because they never do, not until it's too late. I joined a costume flash mob in downtown Seattle, but a subgroup invited me to the real party in an alley. It was the worst decision of my life, and I almost didn't make it out alive. My name is Nephili Ashford, 29 years old, social media manager for a tech startup. And on that night of October 31st, 2023, after 3 margaritas at a bar overlooking Puget Sound, I decided I needed to do something different, something memorable, something that wasn't just taking pictures of other people in costumes to post on Instagram with witty captions. The flash mob was advertised on all social media. Massive zombie thriller, Pike Place, 10 p.m., everyone welcome. The event promised to recreate Michael Jackson's video with hundreds of participants. Organized by some art collective whose name I don't remember. Free, open, democratic. My costume was simple. A classic clown, red wig, face painted white with an exaggerated smile, red nose, polka dot overalls. I'd seen a tutorial on YouTube. It took me 2 hours to apply the makeup correctly. The result was disturbing but perfect for Halloween. I arrived at Pike Place at 9:45 p.m. The area was packed, hundreds of people in zombie costumes, some elaborate with professional makeup, others simple with torn clothes and fake blood. The crowd pulsed with energy. Music blared from portable speakers. Neon lights from nearby stores reflected off the mass of bodies. I blended in. My clown costume stood out among the zombies, but no one seemed to care. Diversity was part of the chaos. At exactly 10 p.m., the music changed. Thriller began to play. And the crowd transformed, everyone moving in sync. The iconic dance steps, arms raised, heads turning mechanically. It was beautiful and creepy. Hundreds of strangers united in collective performance. I didn't know the steps. I'd never practiced, but I tried to follow along. Clumsy, laughing at my own ineptitude. Someone next to me, a tall woman dressed as a zombie nurse, smiled at me. Just improvise. No one is judging. 3 rounds of Thriller. More and more people joining in, the crowd growing. There must have been 500, maybe more. And then, when the music paused, when the crowd was applauding and cheering, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned around. Young man, maybe 25, dressed as a zombie vagrant, genuinely dirty clothes, not just part of the costume, with an unkempt beard, sunken but bright eyes, smiling, showing stained teeth. "Hey," he said. "Nice clown costume. You're new to this, right?" "Yeah, first time at a flash mob." "I thought so. I saw you trying to follow the steps. Cute." He laughed, not cruelly, almost friendly. "You know what? There's a better party. Smaller, more intimate. Only for those who really understand Halloween. Better than this?" I gestured toward the massive crowd. "Much better. This is for tourists, for people who take selfies and go home. The real party, the one the locals know about, is different." "Where?" "Close by. Just a few blocks. In an alley near Post Alley. You know it?" I knew Post Alley. Touristy, with the famous gum wall. Generally safe area. "They really have a party in an alley?" "It's part of the charm. Underground. Literally and figuratively. Are you coming?" "I promise it will be an experience you'll never forget." I should have said no. I should have noticed the signs. His genuinely dirty clothes, the smell emanating from him. Not from a costume, but from a lack of showers, from living on the streets. But I was euphoric. 3 margaritas giving me false confidence, and the idea of a real and underground party sounded exactly like the kind of authentic experience I was always looking for my content. "Okay," I said. "When do we go?" "Now. We're a small group. They're already waiting. We just needed one more to complete it." "Complete what?" "The party." He smiled wider. "Let's go." He led me through the crowd. 2 more people joined us, another woman, an older man, both in zombie costumes that also looked more authentic than theatrical, clothes that had seen better days. Faces wearing makeup, but underneath there was something else. Weariness, despair, something I didn't understand then. We walked, away from the center of Pike Place, toward side streets. Less light, fewer people. The sound of the party fading behind us. "How much further?" I asked. My euphoria beginning to fade, replaced by something colder, more cautious. "Just here, 2 minutes." We reached an alley, not Post Alley with its touristy gum wall, but something darker, between buildings that looked abandoned, with overflowing trash cans. And that smell, God, that smell. Urine, definitely, mixed with trash, and something else. Despair has a smell. I know that now. It smells like unwashed bodies, like clothes that have never been cleaned, like lives lived on the margins. "This is it," said my guide, pointing to the depths of the alley where lights were flickering, candles, cheap flashlights, not festive neon lights but emergency lighting. I hesitated. "I'm not sure. You've come this far. Are you going to miss the best part?" And because I was stupid, because alcohol still clouded my judgment, because part of me thought, this will be a great story to tell, because I entered the alley. There were more people, 10, 15 maybe, all in costumes that I now understood were not costumes. They were their everyday clothes, torn, stained, patched, living on the streets and using Halloween as an excuse to, what, blend in, feel like they were part of something. But something was wrong. The way they looked at me. Not friendly, not festive. Something darker, hungry, and not for food. "Welcome to the real party," said an older woman. 50 maybe, dressed as a witch, which was mostly a tattered coat and a found hat. "Did you bring your contribution?" Contribution. My voice sounded small. Money, alcohol, drugs, something. You can't come to a party without bringing something. I didn't. Nobody mentioned. "Then you're a problem." Her smile evaporated. "Because here, at our party, everything has a price. And if you can't pay with money, you pay in other ways." Panic began to rise, real, visceral. "I need to leave." I turned toward the alley exit, but 2 men had already moved, blocking, with a chain. Not a professional chain, but a makeshift one. From a stolen bicycle, perhaps, with a rusty padlock. "Where are you going, clown?" asked one, younger than the others, in his 20s, with fresh scars on his face, eyes that glowed with something unstable. "The party's just getting started. Let me out." I tried to sound firm, but my voice was shaking. "Now." "Or what? Will you scream?" The man who had led me here laughed. "Go ahead, scream. On Halloween, with a massive party 2 blocks away. Who will hear you? Who will come?" He was right. The background noise, music, conversations, laughter was constant. My scream would be lost, absorbed by the festive night. "What do you want?" I asked. We already told you. Contribution." The witch approached. "You have a phone. Nice. New. iPhone 14. Okay. What? $1,000. You can't. We can't what? Take it? Look around, clown. There are 15 of us. 1 of you. You already figured out the math." I tried to run, toward the opposite end of the alley, toward where I thought there was another exit. Hands grabbed me. Multiple hands. On my arms, My clothes, my wig, pulling me back. I fell, landing hard on pavement, wet, sticky. I didn't want to think about what. "Don't make this difficult," someone said. A man in a skeleton costume who was mostly just skinny. "Just give me your phone, your wallet, whatever you've got, then you can go." "Liar," said another, a young woman with missing teeth. "She can't leave. She's seen us. She knows this place. She'll call the police." "So what if he does?" "The police don't come here. They never come. They know this alley is ours. They let us have it so we don't have to be where the tourists can see us." I stood up, my hands still shaking. "Take what you want. Just let me go." "See?" said the witch. "He's being reasonable. Give her her things and let her go." For a moment, I thought it would work. I took out my phone, my wallet. I put them on the ground. "Here, take it." The young man with the scars picked them up. He checked the wallet. $60. Pathetic. "It's all I have." "What about jewelry? That ring?" He pointed at my hand. Simple ring. Silver. A gift from my grandmother. The only thing I had of hers. "No, please. Anything else but..." "You're not in a position to negotiate." He approached me, taking something out of his pocket. Knife. Homemade. Sharp metal blade. Tied with tape to a wooden handle. Improvised but lethal. The metal glinted in the candlelight, reflecting orange light that made it look as if it were already stained with blood. "Give me the ring, or I'll cut off your finger. Your choice." Tears were streaming down my face now. I couldn't stop them. I forced the ring off. It came off with difficulty, my fingers swollen with fear. I handed it to him. "Good, very good, see? Cooperation, that's all we want." "Can I go now?" "No." A different voice, from behind. A man who hadn't spoken before, older, in his 50s, with a tangled gray beard. "We can't let her go. She stole from us." "What?" "I didn't steal anything." "You stole our night. Halloween. It's the only day of the year we can walk among you. Among normal people, in costumes, blending in, feeling human. And you came to our party, to our space, like a tourist, like a voyeur, taking the experience without understanding what it means. I didn't know. I thought it was just entertainment," she spat. "That's all we are to people like you. Halloween decorations, part of the spooky atmosphere, but we're real. And when tomorrow comes, when Halloween is over, you go back to your warm apartments, your jobs, your lives, and us. We go back to being invisible. I'm sorry, I really am, but that's not my fault." "No. Then whose is it?" His voice rising, genuine anger. "The systems, the economies, gentrifications, big words that don't change anything. But you're here, now, and you can pay. Not with money. We already took that, but with something else." "What?" I could barely speak, terror constricting my throat. "Your smile, that stupid painted smile, mocking us, mocking our suffering. Stay, or we'll rip it off, and paint a real one with your blood." The young man with the knife laughed. "I like that idea. A real clown smile, cut from ear to ear, like the Joker." He approached, the knife raised. Getting closer to my face, I screamed. Finally, loud, desperate, knowing that probably no one would come but unable to keep it in. "Shut up." The witch hit me, open, across the face, the impact spinning my head, pain exploding, taste of blood in my mouth. Screaming won't help. It will only make us angrier. And when we are angry, we do things, permanent things. The man with the knife was inches away now, the tip grazing my cheek, cold metal, pressing lightly, enough to feel, enough to terrify. "Please," I whispered. "Please don't." "Then stay still, and maybe, just maybe, we'll let you keep your pretty face." His dirty fingers dug into my arms, holding me, immobilizing me. He smelled of everything bad, sweat, dirt, disease, desperation. You know what it's like, he said, his hot breath on my face. Seeing people like you, all the time, with their perfect lives, their expensive phones, their clean clothes, walking past us, not looking at us, as if we don't exist. I don't. Yes, you do. Everyone does. We're ghosts, except on Halloween, when suddenly, zombies and homeless people are cute. They're festive, part of the fun. But tomorrow, we're back to being a problem. Shame, something to hide. The knife moved, tracing my cheek, not cutting, yet, but promising to. So tonight, for once we take, we choose, we decide what happens. I just want to go home, I managed to say. Please, just let me go home. Home? He laughed. Bitter sound, broken. You know what's funny about that word? Home. We used to have them, all of us, before everything went wrong. Jobs, apartments, families, and then layoffs, evictions, addictions, illnesses, and suddenly, no more home, just alleys like this. I'm sorry, really, I don't want your pity, he roared, the knife pressing harder, breaking skin, warm blood dripping. I want you to feel, to understand, to know what it's like, to have nothing, to be nothing. The chain blocking the exit was 3 meters away. I could see it in my peripheral vision. Rusty. Weak, perhaps. If I could. If only I did the only thing I could. I used my head, literally, swinging it forward, hitting his nose with my forehead. Crack. Cartilage breaking. He screamed, letting go of me, hands going to his bleeding face. I ran toward the chain, grabbing it, pulling desperately. Stop her. Hands grabbed me again, my overalls, my wig, pulling it off, but I kept pulling on the chain, and something gave way, the rusty lock breaking, or maybe it was never properly closed. The chain fell. I pushed through the arms trying to stop me. One grabbed my ankle. I fell. But I kicked, hard, my foot connecting with the face, teeth, something crunching. I got up and ran, out of the alley, toward the street, toward light, toward people. Behind me, screams, footsteps chasing me. Come back here, bitch. We're not done with you. We'll find you. I ran toward the main avenue, where traffic passed, where people walked, safety in numbers, salvation in light, cars passing like distant lifelines. I needed to reach them. I ran out onto the avenue, almost getting hit by a taxi. The driver honked his horn, yelled something, but he stopped. I threw myself at his window. Please, help, call the police. What? Alley, people trying to hurt me, please. The driver, an older man with a turban, looked at me. He saw my face, bleeding, makeup smeared, no wig, absolute terror in my eyes. Get in. Quick. I opened the back door, fell inside. Go, please. He accelerated just as figures emerged from the alley. 5, 6, running toward the cab, but too late. We drove away, into traffic, into Halloween night with its lights and revelry. Are you okay? The driver asked. Need a hospital? Just police, please. I need to report. My voice broke, the shock settling in, shaking violently, sobs coming out in broken gasps. He took me to the nearest police station, helped me inside, explained in his accented English. Officers came. They sat me down, gave me a blanket, water. It took an hour to tell the story, describe the alley, the people, the attack. They showed my cut, my bruised face, my stolen belongings. Officers took notes, promised to investigate, sent a unit to check the alley. They returned 2 hours later. The alley is empty. No evidence of camping, no people. They dispersed. But are you going to look for them, arrest them? We'll do our best, but it will be difficult. No witnesses, no cameras in that specific alley, and description of homeless people in zombie costumes on Halloween. That applies to hundreds of people tonight. So they get away with it? The officer sighed. I'll be honest, probably. It's not that we don't care, but resources are limited, and the homeless situation in Seattle is complicated. We can't arrest everyone. There's no room in jails or shelters. They tried to cut my face. I understand, and I'm sorry, really. But also, do you understand? Why would someone in your position go into an alley with strangers, late at night, on Halloween? Victim blaming, subtle, but there. I didn't say anything. What could I say? They took me to the hospital. They stitched up the cut, 3 stitches, tetanus shot, prescription for antibiotics, and advice for therapy, for trauma, processing. I got home at 4:30 a.m. on November 1st, Halloween officially over. The sun rising, decorations being taken down, people getting back to normal. And me, in my apartment, with the doors closed, curtains drawn, lights on, sitting, processing. I canceled my credit cards, reported my phone stolen. I changed all my passwords from my laptop, and I tried to move on, forget, but I couldn't. Because 3 days later, November 3rd, I was walking to work through Pike Place in broad daylight with hundreds of people around, and I saw them, or I thought I saw them, shadowy figures between buildings in ragged clothes, looking at me, recognizing me, the young man with the scars, the old witch, others from the alley. No costumes now, no Halloween excuse, just homeless people, living on the margins, invisible to everyone else, but not invisible to me, because I knew them, and they knew me. Our eyes met, across the distance, and one, the man with the gray beard, raised his hand, traced his cheek, with his finger, mimicking a cut, reminding me of his threat, of how close it had been. I froze, in the middle of the sidewalk, people flowing around me, seeing me as an obstacle, as a nuisance, not seeing what I saw, the figures, the threats, the silent promise that this wasn't over. And suddenly I understood what the man had said about being ghosts, except on Halloween, because to me, now, they were permanently visible. Every homeless person who passed by was a potential threat. Every alleyway was a possible trap. Every shadow hid revenge waiting. I changed my route to work, avoiding Pike Place completely, taking streets that were better lit, more populated, safer. But it didn't matter, because Seattle has thousands of homeless people. And I couldn't avoid them all. I couldn't know which ones had been in that alley, which ones remembered, which ones were waiting for another chance. A week later, I found something on my doorstep. Envelope, no return address, no stamp, just left there. Inside, my ring, my grandmother's, and a note, written in careless handwriting. Your contribution was accepted, but the party continues. See you in the shadows, the invisible ones. I called the police again. They came. They took the envelope, the ring, the note. They promised to investigate, to add it to the case, but we both knew that nothing would happen. That whoever had left it was a ghost, part of the floating population that the system had forgotten, impossible to trace, impossible to stop, and the ring. I had to return it, as a promise, or a threat, or both, reminding me that they had let me go this time, but that they knew where I lived, where I worked, where to find me. That the next time our paths crossed, in a dark alley, on a night with no witnesses, the party would continue, and this time, there would be no escape. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake, with every light on, with a kitchen knife on the table next to the bed, listening, waiting, for a knock on the door, for a window breaking, for a sign that they had come, that they wanted to finish what they started, that the real party, as they had promised, was not over, because the horrible truth, the one that keeps me awake, the one that haunts me, is this. Halloween is over. The costumes have been put away. The city has returned to normal. But for me, for them, nothing has changed. I'm still the clown, with a forced smile, pretending to be fine, while terror gnaws at me from within, And they are still the invisible ones, the outcasts, the forgotten ones, living in alleys, waiting, watching, and someday, when I least expect it, when my guard is down, when I walk down the wrong street at the wrong time, we will meet again. And there will be no Halloween to blame. There will be no costumes to hide behind. There will be no flash mob to save us. Just an alley and darkness and a promise fulfilled that the party never really ended. It just took an intermission, and the next act will be the end.